I feel like this is probably one of the most audacious cliffhangers that any franchise of this size has attempted. And definitely going to be the most talked about movie ending, at least since Luke Skywalker showed up and didn't say anything.
Yeah, Disney must be enjoying this.
Disney's like, man, can we break our own records? Because we're the record holders for everything.
Yeah, they're competing with themselves.
Yay, Mickey Mouse is very rich and we're not, so.
Welcome to the Crooked Table Podcast, where we discuss the world of film from a fresh angle. And now your host, Robert Yaniz Jr.
Welcome to the Crooked Table Podcast. This is Rob.
And this is Kai.
And I promise you we are not just a Marvel Studios podcast anymore. It's starting to feel that way since the last episode was Black Panther.
Yeah.
And you were on that one too.
I was. Well, it's also...
I live with you, so you're the... So whenever I'm like, hey, let's do a podcast, I just look over at the person in the room with me. I'm like, you want to do a podcast? And she's like, you're going to make me, aren't you? I'm like, sort of.
Yeah, well, it's also... Marvel happens to also have some of the most talked about movies of the year every year. So
you sound bitter when you say that.
Well, I'm bitter about all the Disney money that we just talked about. I don't know. I mean, they make good films though. They do make good films, but it's also with Marvel movies, they're the most talked about movies other than Star Wars
for a reason.
Yeah,
well, even more.
Like, you want
honestly,
part
more
of the
than Star Wars
conversation.
sometimes. Like yeah. I think more than Star Wars. Like I definitely think Infinity War is going to make more money and be more talked about and be more mulled over the rest of the year than Solo, for example. You know what I mean? Like it depends on what Star Wars movie and what Marvel movie. Or Last Jedi was obviously more talked about than Ant-Man's going to be. You know what I mean? It depends, but it kind of fluctuates. Like every year, the highest grossing movie seems to be, or like the big movie that everyone's talking about does seem to be Marvel or Star Wars, which is, again, like we were saying, all Disney. So anyway, we are here for our first episode in a couple months. Sorry about that, those loyal listeners. It's just, I don't know, I'm kind of at a little bit of a quandary with the podcast, trying to figure out like a little more of a direction, trying to find a place for it in the multiple things that I do as a freelance writer and someone who's constantly busy, either chasing around a toddler or writing something or just life in general. And working on getting some new guests, not just Freddie and Kai on the podcast, and not just me rambling to myself for at least 30 minutes. So stay tuned for that. So that being said, our last episode, of course, was Black Panther, and now we're here for the next Marvel Studios release, Avengers Infinity War, which is definitely the event movie of the year, I would say. And
until the next one.
Well, the next one's Ant-Man, like I just said.
No, until the next Infinity War.
Oh, until Avengers next year?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I wrote an article for monkeysfightingrobots.com. You can find, I'll put the link in the show notes below, about the 5 movies that you really need to see before you watch Avengers Infinity War. Because this is the 19th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And their 10th year.
Congratulations, Marvel.
Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's what I said.
Marvel Studios, not Marvel Comics.
Right. Well, the cinematic universe means movies.
Right. I know, but I don't know. Some people might not know that.
That cinematic means movie, I guess.
They might not. They might think that 10 years from
MCU
Marvel, compared to they have other. Some people don't know the whole background. Going
Someone to this movie blind will be incredibly lost, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Because they don't, the film, we're going to get into spoilers in a second.
Yeah, warning.
Well, we're not. In a second, I said. And, but, in the article that I wrote for Monkeys Fighting Robots, it really is boiled down to the main 5 that you should see before this is the Avengers, Age of Ultron, Civil War, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Thor Ragnarok. So at the very least, go watch those 5 movies. So, that being said, I guess we want to just move straight into the reviews.
When I'm done, half of humanity will still exist. Perfectly balanced. As all things should be. I hope they remember you.
Kai, walking into Avengers Infinity War, what were your expectations having seen the previous 18 movies? Because I kind of, brought you up to speed.
Yes,
And
Rob
then we-
saw the movie a couple days before it came out.
Well, no, not that movie, but you and I have been watching since Captain America, right?
Yeah,
Watching all these movies, more or less, with a couple exceptions, in theaters together. And I made sure that you were up to date on all the other MCU movies. So going into this with all those films in your back pocket, and having seen the trailers for Infinity War, what were you? What kind of story were you expecting? What kind of tone and all that? And then how did it live up to that?
Well, I kind of feel like I'm a lot of Marvel fans, where I've been waiting for this movie for 6 years, since the 2012 Avengers movie. I mean, yeah, Age of Ultron was an Avengers movie, but it was kind of... I liked that movie better when it first came out than
It doesn't stand up to rewatch.
Yeah, and then I look back to reflect. I'm like, ooh, wasn't that good? I mean, it introduced very important people, but it's not really. It doesn't really feel like an Avengers movie to me. Civil War feels more like an Avengers movie, as you always say. But I've been waiting for this for 6 years, so I was definitely very excited to go in and watch this movie and see what happened, especially when the reaction to people who really didn't give me very much to go off of was just
Who are these people? Me?
you, people I work
Things
with,
happened.
people on Facebook.
People are in it and stuff
being
happens.
like, oh my God. Like, there was a remark from someone I work with saying that you could pass out. And I'm like, oh my God, you could pass out. I mean, I think I definitely knew he was kidding, but just,
It's very intense.
yeah.
And you were like very tense throughout the whole movie. Kind of like, oh my God, he's scary.
It didn't help that I woke up with a headache. So then that
Right.
got my
No, that
attention
didn't
even
help.
worse.
That didn't help. So going into, well, I mean, to go back to what you were saying about Age of Ultron, I feel like every phase there is a movie that just sort of becomes kind of exposition, like an exposition movie. Like, here, this is what you need to know in order for the next few movies to make sense. So Iron Man 2 brought in S.H.I.E.L.D. a little more and brought in Black Widow, and it established, now we have War Machine. And it kind of fleshed out Avengers Initiative and what that is a little bit more. And then phase 2 had Age of Ultron, where they're like, Thor and Ragnarok, something's happened in Asgard, he's got to go back. And Captain America and Iron Man don't get along. What's going to happen there? Vision and meet Scarlet Witch. And this scepter was also an Infinity. Like, there was a lot of setting things up.
But thank God for Scarlet Witch, because ultimately she really is one of the most powerful Avengers.
She's pretty
have.
pretty awesome.
Like, she can even change reality with her hands.
I know, she does that.
Her yoga hands.
She
doesn't need a little time stone.
No, she doesn't need to do that Enchantress dance.
No.
There's a little dig at DC fans. Sorry, DC fans. Suicide Squad's not a good movie, but Infinity War had a lot of work to do as far as being the way the Avengers brought together those four main characters, Iron Man, Cap, Thor, and Hulk, and kind of bringing them together in a storyline that made sense. This one had to draw together those characters, Black Widow, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, the Guardians, but pretty much everybody, with a rare exception that we've met thus far, and answer a lot of looming questions, and sort of be basically, I think it's safe to say, and this is not really that spoilery, that this is part one of the two-part finale of this era.
Yeah, that's not a spoiler at all.
I mean, it's not. It definitely leaves things hanging.
Well, yeah, but I think we knew back in 2012 with the first Avengers movie that was back when they had it was still called Infinity War Part 2.
Well, they called it Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2, yeah.
Right, so...
Well, but then they changed the titles, presumably because they're like, well, they're very different movies, tonally or whatever.
And narratively, I read, too.
Yeah, which I don't know what that means exactly. We don't, because we don't know. We'll get to Avengers 4 later on.
Is it still the Russo brothers?
Yeah. Which is good because they've done 3 out of my 5 favorite Marvel movies so far.
Yeah, with my boy, my favorite Avengers.
Captain America?
Yeah.
Yeah, we know you love him. So going into this, I feel like it had a lot riding on it and a lot of hype to live up to. And for the most part, I was really surprised by I got this 2.5 hour high that you get in the battle, like you get in the Battle of New York in the Avengers, where you're like, oh my God, it's happening. Like every 10 minutes, I was like, oh my God, Thor and Rocket are hanging out, and he's calling him a rabbit. Or, oh my God, like
And
Doctor
Rocket's
Strange
fine
is
with it.
Doctor. Well, he doesn't like being called a raccoon. That's what he's sensitive about, even though that's what he looks like. So that's weird.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that was in Guardians too. He calls me like, I'm not a raccoon. He's like, I'm sorry, I meant trash panda. He's like, is that better? And he's like, it's worse. It's so much worse. Anyway, you need to watch Guardians 2 again.
So I guess it's weird because he is a raccoon.
He's not a raccoon though. A raccoon's what we call on Earth. He's some kind of other alien species or whatever that was like messed with and experimented on and such.
Okay.
But he does look like a
he's
raccoon.
like an alien raccoon
Something.
thing.
I don't know.
Trash panda. Aw.
That's mean. I know. I live Rocket now. Damn it! I got distracted. What was I saying?
Thor and Rocket hanging out.
Yeah, or Doctor Strange called Iron Man a douchebag, which he is sometimes, or like
They're both douchebags.
sort of, or I don't know. I'm trying to think of another one.
Doctor Strange is so serious, and I know that I don't. Yeah, he's so serious. Like it's just.
I want to say why so serious, but I don't want to do another DC tangent.
Yeah, no, it's just like I don't know. He doesn't have fun.
He's all business because he used to be a douchebag.
Yeah. But
If you watch Doctor Strange,
But so did Iron Man.
well, he's still a
But
douchebag.
he's
I
more
think that's the
fun.
point.
But Doctor Strange is like not fun.
He's got a mission. He's got a lot of responsibility.
So is Iron Man.
Does he though?
Iron Man's like the lead. He's got like
He feels a lot of responsibility, but he doesn't take the responsibility as much.
he's a rich billionaire.
Genius, playboy,
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
Yeah, billionaire
I think
philanthropist. I
Doctor
said it wrong
Strange is
order,
just
but
jealous.
still.
He's like, man, I'm not certain.
He's like,
I have no money.
I've got an awesome
Doesn't
goatee
he
too.
still live in Nepal?
No, he lives in the Sanctum Sanctorum
Where's
in
that
New York.
again?
The New York, where he
I
was.
guess. What happened in Nepal?
That was where the ancient one was, and he did his like training and such.
Oh, right. I guess so.
And now he's stationed out of New
No,
York.
I don't want to watch Doctor Strange again.
Oh, I started watching it. It's on Netflix for people who want to watch. That would be probably not. Actually, that would probably be number 7 over Black Panther because Doctor Strange is really important to this movie.
Yeah, that's true.
And Black Panther's only in it when they come to see him. And they're like, we're coming to fight. And he's like, we will fight. Engage all defenses.
Poor Black Panther. They keep bringing their people.
I
over.
know. He's like, man, we just can't catch a freaking
It
break.
makes me think of My Blue Heaven, but in like where in the movie My Blue Heaven, she's like, we're not the toxic waste dump of people. And not to say, obviously, Avengers are not toxic waste, but it's just like
People keep bringing their problems there.
exactly.
Killmonger's like, all right, come on, motherfuckers. And then the Avengers are like, hey, can we hang out at your place?
What about Bucky?
Yeah, it's true, Bucky. Well, that was in Civil War. So yeah, Doctor Strange. Like seeing all the characters together, you get that same. The movie does a good job of pushing the story forward, answering a lot of looming questions over the last 10 years. You know what might be a good way to, because I keep trying to think of the structure to go through this. The stones. Let's just go by that.
Okay.
So it starts out, and he already has the Power Stone from Xandar, which we saw in Guardians of the Galaxy.
What the hell took this guy so long?
Oh, I know. Yeah, you
waited
pointed that
6
out earlier
years.
today.
Waited 6 years to do this. Like, what horrible henchman?
He's
he had.
trying. Well, at the end of
It's also
Age of
people-
Ultron,
I think
he's like,
people probably wanted power too.
at the end of Age of Ultron, he's like, fine, I'll do it myself.
Right. I'm like,
Well, he had to have Peter Dinklage make him a gauntlet to put all the stuff in, first of all, and then he had to
God, what is
go
it? What
track
a
them down
greedy,
and stuff. I
greedy
don't know.
Baby he is. It's like, I gotta make my own special.
Well, he needed
world,
something to wield all the power and like combine their powers together. It's like, if you have all the parts for a weapon, you need something to, I don't know, you have like say you have a bunch of really awesome bullets that will fire and like destroy something. You need a gun to put them in, you know what I mean? So he needs a receptacle for the power that to generate, to take the power from the stones.
So did any of these henchmen of him actually want to just keep it for themselves other than
Yeah,
Loki?
Ronan.
Yeah, see, that's what this.
Ronan tried to do that.
When you have henchmen that want power themselves, of course they're going to be horrible.
Well, in Garden, that's actually good. And
bad at their
that's
job.
actually good that you mentioned that because Ronan had the orb.
And he was horrible.
Oh, he was
villain.
a shitty villain, but we're gonna see him.
Malekith was
We're gonna
horrible, too.
see Ronan again next year in Captain Marvel anyway, but
Oh,
because it's set
yeah.
before, and he's a Kree, and it involves the Kree Skrull War, which I don't know much about other than what I've read in articles about this. I have to read some more of the comics, I guess. So he gets the Power Stone beforehand, but since you didn't really care about the Power Stone or the Nova Core or anything, were you cool with that? I mean, I
guess so,
I
sure.
felt like in order to streamline the storyline, you can't have him going after all 6 stones because this part of the movie would be 4 hours long. So if you're going to cut one out, it's like, I don't really need to see Thanos walking into Xandar, destroying shit and taking a stone. I'm like, I don't care about any of the characters on Xandar.
Exactly, yeah.
And other than John C. Reilly, he'd be like, you can't have that. And then like him like Thanos killing him and getting a stone. I don't really give a shit.
Right.
I thought we would get a Glenn Close cameo though, based out of that. Maybe footage. It would have been nice maybe to see like some security footage from
Maybe it was
Xandar
cut.
with her. Maybe it's interesting how
And
they
it's
just
also,
skipped
and
right
also
through that.
it makes sense that he would go for the Power Stone first because
He wants power.
He wants power. That was always
Right.
his main.
So that was the
mission.
stone that the Guardians all hold at the end of the first movie, and they're like, "We the
With the
Guardians of
Break the
Galaxy."
Chain song.
No, that's in
No.
the second one. The first
Oh.
one where they're all holding hands after Groot sacrifices himself.
Yeah.
And they defeat Ronan.
Yeah.
with
What
it.
song was that?
I don't remember.
Oh.
It's been a while. I think it's Score when they're all holding it.
Oh.
The power is like going through them and they're all like holding. It's like basically they defeat Ronan with like the power of friendship, essentially, which is part of why I'm like this movie's a little cheesy. Like I like Go First Guardians, but I didn't love it. I loved the second Guardians, which is important which is a good thing I did because based on that is why everything in this movie with the Guardians really worked for me because I fell in love with them last year.
Star-Lord is.
Well, what Guardians 2? Yeah. But like the connections between all the characters. Like, well, now we're talking about. You can listen to my Guardians 2 episode on this. We're getting distracted. So that's the Power Stone, and then he gets the Space Stone, which Loki gives him, and I thought was great that Loki actually sacrifices himself for Thor in the end, and actually does have some goodness to him. I actually cried a little bit for Loki. I get emotional for Loki.
You do love Loki.
And you're like, he's a mean motherfucker. He's killed hundreds of people in these movies, and yet you still feel for him. Partially because you know that there's conflict, like Darth Vader, there's conflict in him, and partially because Thor still cares about him. Because ultimately, they were still raised as brothers. So even if he's a terrible person, even if you have someone in your family that's a terrible person, and they've done terrible things, you're still gonna care about them because they're still your family. They're still your parent, or still your sibling, or still your kid, or whatever. You know.
When Loki died, I was very surprised because, I mean, we were talking about this earlier. Marvel's Avengers movies are very good at. When I say Avengers, I'm talking about like the Marvel
MCU.
cinematic. Yeah, because it's all what these movies are about anyway. It's all leading to these Avengers movies with Black Panther.
So for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Well, those are the
So-
big crossover events. It's like, you know.
That's why they're going to start
if
probably
these
a
are-
new Avengers after
or
they
something.
kill off the other characters.
And I wrote an article about who the post for Avengers 4 lineup will probably be for ScreenRant.com,
Right.
so you can read. Maybe I'll put
Right.
that in the show notes.
Exactly. So it's all about the Avengers movie. So anyway, they don't really kill people.
Well, that's how comic books work too. Yeah.
And then
Or they
so-
do, but then they're like, just kidding. That was my other doppelganger or whatever.
So the fact that
Time
Loki
travel.
died in the beginning of the movie, and mind you, yes, he could still come back. I was like, whoa, they just killed him. And then
Thanos is like, no resurrections this time.
yeah. I was like, oh man.
Like that
this
sounded
is,
like that sounds like
serious.
Marvel talking to. It feels like Dark Helmet should pop up right around there and be like, "Did you get that? Everybody got that?" You know, I think it was time for him to say goodbye, at least for now, because these movies, anything can happen. Because they've done the whole "I'm good, no, I'm double crossing you, brother" thing like 400 times.
Yeah. Well, I was reading an article tonight that said that Loki, how could Loki be that stupid to just be like, I can kill him with a knife? Like, it was meant that Loki might have already been up to something.
Maybe.
And that's why he might be able to come back, because he knew what he was, he's a god of mischief. So
I love that scene where he's like saying like, "I, Loki, rightful heir of Jotunheim." He's like, and he looks at Thor and he's like, "Odin's son," and he's like all serious, and then he makes the little dagger that we see, and then he's like, "God of mischief," blah blah blah. I thought that was great. That whole like build up, like what a hero's death he has there. So I mean, I kind of hope that he dies for real, especially since. Spoilers, sort of, but not really. We're past it at this point. Especially since everybody that dies in this movie is probably coming back. I mean, right? Except for maybe Idris Elba, because he's like, I got other things to do. I'm not even in Pacific Rim, guys. I'm busy. I don't have time for franchises. So yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that for now.
He's also busy voicing all the characters
in every single Disney movie. Yeah, right. Seriously,
he's got a great
Zootopia,
voice.
and that they haven't put him in Star Wars yet. I'm sure that'll happen soon. And he was in Star Trek too. Remember Star Trek
yeah.
Beyond? It's a good movie.
God, I remember when
Also with Zoe Saldana.
Idris Elba was in Thor
Yeah.
2011, and I didn't really even know who he was.
Yeah.
And in like
No,
the
I
last
didn't either.
7 years, he's
He blew
become
up
a huge
now.
star.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Go get yourself up.
So that's the space stone. So he's got those two, and then his stupid children, who are really boring and just very generic. I just like that one guy who's like, shh. I thought that was kind of
looks
cool.
like a puppet.
He does look a little
like
bit like
a puppet. That's cool. They should have done that, but no. They had to put
CG
money
and
in,
stuff. Yeah, motion capture, but whatever. So then they arrive in New York to get this time stone, the Eye of Agamotto from Doctor Strange, and that doesn't go very well. So how did you? I thought it makes sense that Marvel Comics started in New York, and that's why a lot of these characters are based out of New York, and so it made sense for so many of the characters to have their paths start crossing in New York, because that's where Doctor Strange is in the Sanctum Sanctorum. That's where Tony Stark is jogging with Pepper Potts. That's where Peter Parker's on his little field trip, and that's where the Hulk ends up getting sent by Heimdall. So how did you feel about that action sequence in the streets of New York, and the, I guess, ultimately unsuccessful attempt to get the Time Stone from Doctor Strange?
Well, it also makes sense it would set in New York too, not just because of the comics, but because the Avengers movie happened in New York.
Right, New York.
Shot
well,
and,
but
yeah, and we
still
Spider-Man's
don't know.
from New York.
We still don't know who bought
Captain
Avengers.
America's from New York.
Let me throw this out real fast. We still don't know who bought the Avengers Tower from Spider-Man: Homecoming. Remember, they were moving, and I still holding on to the thought that that's probably going to be the Fantastic Four in Phase 4, and that's going to be the Baxter Building, because they're also based out of New York in the comics. But that's just an aside.
But they might be in the fifth Avengers movie.
Well, Phase 4, whenever that is, in a couple of years or whatever. And if that's the case, if that deal does close, expect Phase 4 to be a lot of X-Men and a lot of Fantastic Four, and eventually probably leading up to an Avengers versus X-Men movie. Anyway, that's my speculation for Phase 4.
Like for comic book fans,
everybody's mind's gonna blow.
Yeah, it's like a dream come true. The fact they were even able to pull off.
Well, those would be the last pieces of this Marvel Cinematic Universe that they don't have.
They also keep going.
Right. Oh yeah, I know, but they'll have everybody is what I'm saying. Anyway, we're getting unfocused. So that's what we do though in real life and on the podcast.
Right.
So the Time Stone and the whole New York scene, I thought that was cool. And all the interactions between Spider-Man and Iron Man and Doctor Strange, as we said, and they all sort of get sucked into the spaceship adventure that ends up taking them to Titan.
Okay. Now,
yes,
a plot hole here, and maybe this is me being too literal, but
usually
so. The little puppet alien man,
Ebony Maw, I think that one is his name.
Puppet man. He died because he got thrown outside the spaceship. Thank you
into space.
Into space, because you can't really breathe in space.
Right.
Yet nobody
Ask Yondu.
But yet nobody.
I know.
Everybody is able to breathe just fine on these planets.
Supposedly, maybe those atmospheres are oxygen okay. I mean, look at Guardians. Star-Lord's just walking around on Xandar with no problem. I mean, he's part celestial, but still. He doesn't, I don't know if that has any bearing on that. Plus, he doesn't know that.
But he's lived his whole lot of his life now in space.
I think that we can just assume that some of these planets are
oxygen.
Yeah, are human compatible, that people can breathe on them.
That's great.
Which is convenient, but
I know they can't have time to discuss
but they don't have everybody just at least they're not like Iron Man's just hanging out, floating around in space. Like, this is cool. Even Spider-Man's like, I can't breathe, blah, blah, blah. And then it's when he gives him the Iron Spider outfit, which was really cool, and which I'd seen pictures of, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. But in action, it was pretty badass with the little legs and everything that pop out of it. That was neat. So the Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, their storyline pretty much is consistent, and then crosses with the Guardians later. And I thought the best moment that came of that whole thing was when they have the plan to get the gauntlet from Thanos, and everybody, there's 7 or 8 different heroes that are taking shots at him. Star-Lord and Drax and Nebula too, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm, Nebula later on shows up there and escapes. And then the big emotional moment with Gamora, because like I said, for some reason now I care about the Guardians, which I don't know how that happened. I guess Guardians 2 did a lot. It really hit me in the right place. How did you feel about that whole storyline in space with them, and then on Titan, and then pretty much that storyline ends on Titan?
I thought it was interesting that they all had to come together to try to get the gauntlet off, and still did not work out to their plan.
Well,
but it's surprising that Quill's the one that had the best idea, because he's kind of
I've heard some
goofy.
Some people, because Joanna Robinson of Vanity Fair, who has, of course, I mentioned to you, she's on podcasts I listen to and all that stuff. I've heard she hates Star-Lord. She thinks he's a complete asshole.
Well, he's very egotistical.
And he's super selfish. They're talking about, Thanos is coming, whatever, and then And then Star-Lord's more
Concerned
concerned
being
with
called fat.
well, yeah, with being called fat. It's like, I'm going to get a Bowflex. I'm going to commit. That kind of thing, being like, no, you shall not take our pod, and deepening his voice and basically feeling threatened by Thor, which, I mean, who wouldn't feel threatened by Thor, the pirate angel? Which is probably one of the best lines in that movie that everybody's like, it's like Drax is like, it's like a pirate had a baby with an angel, which is pretty spot on, actually. Yeah, so I could understand the animosity towards Star-Lord, but I mean, I think the fact his character is the basis of his character is he was traumatized by the death of his mom as a kid. So he's basically there's a fly in here or something. He's basically a 35-year-old little boy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I because I understand that, I'm like, okay, well, not because I understand that because I am a 35-year-old little boy. A little bit of that, but but also because I understand where he's coming from.
Oh, what about Gamora?
Gamora is a more interesting I mean, granted, let me clarify. I'm saying I understand Star-Lord, and because of that, it doesn't bother me that that's the way he is, because I just accept that that's the way he is. He's not nearly my favorite Guardian of the group. I think it's between Gamora and Rocket.
Well,
probably.
that's interesting you said that, because with the promotion of this movie, there's been a lot of just like funny clips and stuff, and the one was the Marvel Brady Bunch.
That was Tonight Show, right? I think Tonight Show did that.
And Star-Lord, Chris Pratt, got more applause than anybody when he showed up.
People love Star-Lord.
Exactly.
All the little boys love Star-Lord because they're like, that's me.
Probably women that are attracted to men like
women
that.
who are attracted to doofus like man boys.
Yeah.
I guess that's a good point. I don't know why they'd be more attracted to him than Hemsworth and Evans and I don't know, everyone else basically. But whatever, to each their own. So I like that story. There's a lot of levity that comes out of that storyline for the most part. I think the big emotional beat is the Gamora reveal that he had to kill Gamora, but that's a different stone. We'll get to that in a minute. So I don't know. I like the time stone storyline is good, and then of course the way it resolves is with Doctor Strange, and then we'll get to that part. With Doctor Strange saying, because he says early in the film, oh, if it comes down to saving you or the kid or the time stone, I will not hesitate to let you both die. Pretty much, he's like, I don't give a fuck about y'all. He's like, my name's Paul, and it's between y'all. I'm here to protect the time stone. If something happens to you guys, it's no sweat off my back.
He's got a closer bond to the time stone than he does to those two people.
Well, because that's his mission. His mission is that, and he's very focused on that. Which, yeah, he doesn't know who these people are. He just met them. Which is weird. I'm sure he knows who Iron Man is because he lives in New York, and Iron Man is all over New York. His fucking name on the side of a building in New York.
But technically, Doctor Strange isn't even an Avenger.
Now he is, because he was part of the team.
I guess.
And I like that we got
Isn't it nice how easy it is? I want to be an Avenger too.
Well, that Tony Stark was like,
up.
"Congratulations, kid, you're an Avenger," because Spider-Man just was a stowaway on the ship and became an Avenger just by happenstance.
That's what happened with Scarlet Witch too.
That's true.
I guess
That's true.
If
Just
you get
circumstances.
if you get part of the fight, you
get wrapped into the whole, the conflict. So, and then it ends, the payoff of that line is later on where Thanos very nearly kills Iron Man. And I think you and I were both, like when I saw it the first time, I was like, oh snap, was I right? Is he going to die in this or something? Because I still think Avengers 4, he still might die. But he doesn't die here, and Doctor Strange makes the offer, like, spare his life and I'll give you the time stone. And he hands the time stone over to Thanos, who's like, thanks, man, and then heads out to go get the next one. The last one, actually.
But I don't understand. Thanos wasn't gonna, it didn't look like he was actually going to kill him.
He was going to kill him, I think. He would have, all he needed to do was one more shot. Or one more stab or whatever. He
looked like he was about to leave.
Because he was waiting, I think, no? He was waiting. He was monologuing to Iron Man for a second with that, like, when I'm done, half of humanity will still be left. I hope they remember you or whatever.
Yeah, I guess it was his goodbye monologue or something.
Yeah,
him?
he was like, I'm about to kill you, pretty much.
Right. Okay.
And then Doctor Strange is like, nope, don't kill him. Here's the time stone. He's like, thanks, bro. And then off he went. I kind of wish we went chronologically for when he got them, but whatever.
And I'm actually surprised he didn't kill him, because considering that the guy is like dirty.
Well, and I love how I love things. You know how I love continuity and things like that, and these movies have been really great for that for the most part. The line that where Iron Man's talking to Thanos, and Thanos is like, "Oh, Stark." He's like, "You know me?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I know you." And he's like, talking about how he's cursed or whatever. And Iron Man's like, "My only curse is you," because like Iron Man has the stakes with him, or that he's had this guy in the back of his mind for 6 years, ever since he went through that wormhole and fought the Chitauri. And I think
he's
that
the only Avenger that
I
did.
thought that was I thought that was a good payoff of the fact that in a lot of ways all these movies since the Avengers have kind of been about Tony Stark trying to triumph over Thanos in some way or shape or form. And then you have, Banner telling him early on, it was like, back in New York, that was him, blah, blah, blah. The way that they pay off that original film, I think, is really strong and in this one, and all those threads that have been lingering since then. So Strange says to Stark, he's like, this was the only way, or whatever. There was no other way. So a lot of speculation already, even though it's still the opening weekend, has centered on the fact that are we still in the one scenario of the 14 million whatever alternate futures that Doctor Strange
Most
saw,
likely.
in which they can triumph over Thanos. So the logic there being that they have to let Thanos win so that they can then defeat him later and undo what he does.
But one article I just finished reading that was kind of
I like that you're like reading all the Avengers articles now. You're like into this. It's really exciting.
BuzzFeed has its own section, so
every website that covers this kind of stuff is doing that.
So I was reading one where saying that it can't all hinge on the time stone alone, because the gauntlet is already so powerful that it can't just be the time stone. Probably will also hinge on the soul stone, which we're still not sure what that's going to do. That might actually...
He never used it.
No, we might get a bigger... He didn't have to. He snapped his fingers and that was the end of humanity. But he's also... because I said he took their soul.
He needs a soul stone to take their soul. So in order to snap his fingers and be able to do that, he needs a soul stone. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So that's what Soul Stone does.
Yeah,
He's like, I don't like you.
And that's why the Time Stone and the Soul Stone are right on like the top of the gauntlet versus the
Soul
other
Stone
ones
is
on the knuckles.
the palm.
Right.
The palm is the Soul Stone, yeah.
So he could still have wreaked a lot of havoc just with those two stones alone instead of the other four.
But he wanted to,
have ultimate power.
Exactly. Which is like it's a power trip for him, and it's interesting that. Well, we'll save that for when we get to the next stone. So that's the time stone. So I think that's probably the case, is that the Avengers have to fall in order to rise up again. Another DC thing. Notice all my DC things a lot of them are Batman. Like, what do we do when we fall? We pick ourselves up. That thing. It's kind of like that. So you have to lose everything in order to regain, your power or whatever.
Well, I think that's pretty similar in real life too.
Right, and that's a thematic thing.
You have to see true darkness before you can
rise above
it.
Right, yeah. Exactly. And I think that's an interesting thematic thrust for the next film.
Somebody to avenge upon.
Right, exactly. Well, like Coulson, they're like, oh, this wasn't going to work unless they had something to fight for or whatever. So now they're fighting for all the Avengers that disappear at the end, and we'll get to that in a second. So
I'm glad we just had that hack, though.
The stones?
Yeah.
I mean, because I was trying to figure out a way to structure this conversation, and it's like, do you go by characters? I'm like, no, they crisscross a lot. Do you go by storylines?
Well, that too, but I was also talking about
the Soul Stone. Yeah, that was
Stone. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So we did the power, we did the space, we did the time stone. So we have the mind, the soul, and reality. Okay, so the reality stone...
It's a lot cooler than it was in Dark World.
Oh my god, yeah, it was just this red gooey shit. I was like, what the hell does this red cloud have to do with anything?
I didn't understand what was going on. And I forgot where he got the reality stone. Yeah. I'm like, because the Dark World movie was so...
dumb?
Yeah.
Well, that's probably either it's like one of the weakest. It's like the second weakest. It's between that and Iron Man 2. It depends on my mood, which was the weakest of the 19 films. But the fact that like half of those 19 films are like really good to amazing is really it's a pretty good track record.
It's also the whole.
And I wouldn't even call Dark World a terrible movie. It's just like it's an okay movie.
They didn't set what I was gonna say is they didn't set the ground rules. Like, remember when I walked out of that movie?
You're like, I have no idea what the fuck's going on.
It was just too fantasy. It was just too fantasy because they didn't set the rules.
And that was what I said to you. They're like, you feel that way about Thor: The Dark World and not like Lord of the Rings because they don't establish. Yeah, like you said, they don't. I think I said to you, they don't ground anything. They're not like, okay, this is what this thing does, and now let's continue our story. They're just like, this thing is out there and it's bad and it's like elves and shit, and you're like, what the fuck is happening?
Exactly.
So, the Guardians split, and Thor and and Rocket and Groot go to the name of that place that I don't remember the name because it's long and ridiculous. Not Vormir. Thor and Rocket and Groot go to that. I think you were going to the bathroom during that one boring scene where the dwarf is just like, my people were here and now they're dead and Thanos and stuff. I'm like, I don't care. That's probably the only. That's little.
He likes to shapeshift.
That little.
He likes to jump franchises too.
Yeah, he does. Well, he already played a Marvel character in X-Men.
Like, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. That little like I'm making a weapon to defeat Thanos. That was probably the most. That was only the part of the movie that I was like, okay, let's keep going. That's why I said to you during the movie, I'm like, hey, I have your built-in bathroom break. Wait a second. I'm like, okay, go ahead now, real fast. So they go do that, and then the rest of the Guardians, or the morons, as Thor calls them, go off to nowhere. And then I love Mantis is like, ooh, she's got to be somewhere because she doesn't know that. Mantis is adorable. I like Mantis a lot. She's fun.
I was thinking about her quote where she's like, we kick ass. We take names and kick ass. Like,
yeah. No, we don't take names and kick ass. She says we kick names and take ass.
Oh, okay. That's why I didn't say it right, because she didn't say it right. Okay, yeah.
Well, I just rewatched, just a slight digression. I just rewatched Guardians 2 the other day, and I like that one part where Drax and Star-Lord are having the conversation with her about her antenna. And he's like, Drax is like, I think they're feeling doorways so that you don't go through and bump your head on the doorway as you go through. And Star-Lord's like, well, I'm right if it's anything else. And then she's like, they are not for going through doorways. And she says that, it's amazing. So I love Palm Clementif. I forget her. She's like a French Canadian actress. So she's great in that role. I love Mantis. So they go to nowhere to try and get the Reality Stone from the Collector, who Benicio del Toro, who's also in Star Wars, because Disney's very loyal to their people, and has a little cameo there where at first we see Thanos trying to torture him to get it, and the Guardians are creeping up, and then of course it's all bullshit because he's already got the Reality Stone and he controlled the environment. Did you like that twist?
Yeah, I did, but like I was telling you, I knew something was up. It was just too timely that they came right when Collector's being
You're like,
questioned.
this feels like a setup.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Well, that would have been like, but the thing is that they could have done that, and I think that's a testament to the fact of.
But one thing I didn't understand. We'll get back to me in a second, but I was still talking. Is Thanos also then turned around once they made a sound,
and kind of smiled. He kind of smiled like, oh yeah.
So what if they had never made a sound? If he would have, I don't know, if he would have spotted them.
I think he probably knew they were there already before that, because he already had the scenario playing out.
Right.
And then when they got closer, he was like, "Oh yeah, it's about to go down." Because he kind of does like a little half smile thing to the direction of where they're creeping up, right. Not really very well. What was I saying?
Drax is also loud.
No, I lost my thought again.
I was talking about how I figured it was a setup. It just was too tiny.
Oh, and that's a testament to the writing of this film and how strong it is, that they could have easily done that, and we would have not even noticed because, well, it's a movie, and that's a movie thing. Like, you show up at just the right moment because timing always works out in movies, unless it doesn't. And I thought that was a strong revert. There's a lot of parts in this movie, and I said this to you earlier today, that like the movie's basically fucking with you. We're like, oh, they defeated Thanos. Gamora killed Thanos. Nope. They got the gauntlet from Thanos. Nope. This Scarlet Witch one. We'll get there obviously in a second.
Thanos might die.
Nope. There's like 6 times where you're like, oh, they almost motherfuck. And it's
which isn't typically how Marvel movies do this.
No, and the tension like ratchets up, and as beloved characters are like dying every half hour, like somebody you just getting killed, and you're like, holy shit, this is fucked up.
But a lot of them it's dying just at the snap of the fingers move, though.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna do we're gonna do that whole sequence last. So, and this is by far, we should probably point out. I mean, obviously, if you're listening to this, you've probably already seen it, but I think you and I both feel like this is definitely the darkest of all 19 movies thus far.
I knew how dark it was gonna be.
Probably one that I would not bring small children to because you will freak them the fuck out. They'll go to sleep worrying that you're about to like turn into ash in your bed that night or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very the ending is it's very dark and very I don't know, traumatic, I guess is the best word, for little kids especially.
Movie, I knew what the stakes
were.
Like, that was dark.
And so they set it up from the beginning of the movie to be like, hey y'all, kids, you're in the wrong fucking theater, and go across the way and go watch.
It's still PG-13.
It's still PG-13, but this is like a hard PG-13. All the other ones are like, all right, PG-13 because a little violent, whatever, action, but it could have technically almost been Ragnarok was kind of violent too, actually. People just got knifed and impaled in like 2 seconds.
We can thank Deadpool for this. We've gotten some
Well, Deadpool will be
hardcore
really
superhero
fucked
movies
up.
since then. Well,
Logan's amazing.
Yeah, obviously Deadpool's right.
Oh, well, I'll have to do. I'm definitely going to do a podcast episode on Deadpool.
Which is not technically Marvel Studios.
No, it's not. It's
So.
But it's not in association with Marvel like that Venom movie it seems to be. But whatever,
Oh,
we
yeah.
won't get into that Venom movie yet. That's in the fall. So, so then Gamora knows about the Soul Stone, so she makes Quill promise to kill her, and the Reality Stone prevents him from trying to do that. Even though they have their I think that's the first time they ever said "I love you" to each other.
Yeah.
Too, that we've seen at least.
I really thought he was going to pull a Han Solo line and be like, I know, because he's just like that kind of.
He's like, he would like quote that movie. He's like, it's a great movie, Empire Strikes Back.
Well, it just
They already had an Empire Strikes Back callback in Civil War with what's his face.
because he just also seems like that type of character.
Smug, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was that it hit me right in the feels, that moment between the two of them. And of course that doesn't work out, and he disappears with Gamora, and there goes the Reality Stone. Another one bites the dust. I thought that. I think, and you know, I wonder if the filmmakers, the Russo brothers and Marvel, knew that people didn't give a fuck about the Reality Stone, which is why the Reality Stone is sort of like, oh, we got it already. Oh, okay, bye.
That's cool though.
It's cool in those two instances that he uses it, which is in there where Nowhere's already been decimated and they don't know it because they see it differently. And then later on when he's explaining his backstory in Titan to Doctor Strange on that planet.
Oh, well, what about when he turned the weapons to bubbles?
No, I know, but I'm saying when he changes the entire environment around him.
All right.
I think it is cool, but the build up to the Reality Stone was probably the most poorly handled. Because, like you said, until now we're like, oh, that's what it does. Because before, wasn't it just opening portals to things? And I'm like, okay,
Was it? I don't
yeah,
know.
they were like flying from one planet to another.
saw
I'm like,
the Dark World
well, how
movies,
is
like, 4
the
years
reality
ago.
based on that? How is the Reality Stone different than the Space Stone? You know what I mean? They wasn't very well defined until now. Now you're like, okay, so you could literally change anything around you.
Well, what did you get
And
from
then,
the
like-
Infinity Gauntlet comic book? Does it do a better job describing it?
I guess it's more about him. He kind of completes the gauntlet a lot earlier in the story, and then everybody's like, "Oh shit, he's got the gauntlet. How do we stop him?" You know what I mean? It's not as much. Not as much of that story is about him collecting everything.
Oh,
He's more like,
okay.
I'm gonna get this, and then nobody can defeat me. I'm gonna snap my finger, and then he snaps, and people disappear. Everybody tries to get it from him. It's more of that type of thing.
Oh,
So I think
kind of boring.
yeah, I think there's elements from it that they do use, like the finger snap and some of that I think Silver Surfer is actually the one that lands on Earth, warning of Thanos' arrival in there. You know, I think they've done a good job with the movies, taking what they need and leaving the rest and putting their own spin on it. It's definitely a good story, and I recommend people check it out. So that's the Reality Stone, and I think that made sense that they did that. So then we get to the Soul Stone, where that whole Nebula scene that's very upsetting.
Yeah, I know.
Where and like I said to you earlier, I remembered seeing it earlier this week, and you know, she's all pulled apart and her like limbs and everything are extended outward because she's basically part cyborg, mostly cyborg at this point. And I forgot that when you first see her, you think she's just strung up, and then the camera turns and you're like, holy shit, he's like literally extending out her body parts everywhere.
He's horrible.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And that's what's so hard to believe when he's like, I loved you, Gamora, but yet he was so mean to Nebula and he didn't love her at all.
He didn't love Nebula at all, no. He didn't
But
give a
he
shit.
only.
She was a
why did he-
disappointment to him.
But why did he love Gamora?
Because she was a badass that he wanted her to be. And their relationship is interesting in this movie. And the way that we get a flashback to little Gamora and when he basically wipes out half her planet. And I thought that was very artfully done, where it's like, yeah, there's this crazy genocide happening on this planet in the background, but he's like showing her the blade and it's perfectly balanced, and that plays into his philosophy on, well, you wipe out half the people and then you can save it because he has that great speech with Doctor Strange, I think, right? Where he's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's resources, finite. You know, I thought all that whole thing, like his point of view was very well illustrated. Where you don't
also
agree
made me
with
think
him,
of-
like Killmonger, you don't agree with what he's doing, but you're like, well, you being what you've been through and having this fucked up perspective, I can sort of see you wanting to do that and thinking that you're doing the best thing for the universe.
But what I'm curious about is if they took the playbook from Kingsman with Valentine, because Valentine thought the same thing. He said the whole thing about resources. He said that
Yeah, there's a little bit of that.
You don't need to kill everybody.
Well, I mean,
Just a lot of people.
spoilers for, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Spoilers for a DC story, Watchmen, which has a very similar kind of thing. He wipes out a select millions of people in certain big cities, and then they all unite. And they all, I know. And they all unite against a common threat rather than rip each other apart through like worldwide, like through another world war. I think that's one of those. That's a motivation that has been used by a lot of sort of comic book villains, but it really comes down to execution. And I thought they did a good job in explaining like his life on Titan and his experiences there, and how he's a survivor, and how he really feels. Again, that's the old, it's a cliche, but it's the old. Every villain thinks he's the hero of his own story.
So how was he killing these? How are they doing genocide before this?
Chitauri army. Right. Remember, we go to that thing and you see the little girl and you're like, what the fuck is this? Who's this girl? She's green like Gamora. Oh my God, is this a thing? And then you're like, oh yeah, it is. And you see the little space whales in the sky, and basically what he was going to do in the Battle of New York.
Right. But then but did the people get hurt? Like, did they feel pain? Because it looked
like... he killed them.
Right. But versus with the gauntlet, they don't look like they really feel pain. They just
crumble.
Right. Well,
they don't feel very good. Like, I don't feel so good.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, I wanted to mention real fast the Reality Stone, the way that Drax like falls apart into cubes and then Mantis sort of unravels. That was creepy and fucked up. And then Mantis is like sitting there with her eye kind of looking.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was fucking that was very upsetting imagery.
Yeah.
Again, for little kids especially.
Yeah.
I'm an adult man and I was like, oh my God, this is hardcore. So the Soul Stone, he tortures Nebula and gets Gamora to reveal, because apparently this film reveals that Gamora was sent out by Thanos at some point to locate the stones, and she couldn't find the Soul Stone, but she did, and then she never told him that because she was trying to keep it out of his hands. Did you think that was a satisfying payoff in the fact that, because the Soul Stone's the only one we didn't know anything about going into this movie?
And I think we even were trying to...
We're like, where the hell's that? It's not coming. It's not in Black Panther. It's like, what the fuck?
Because we were talking about the 6 Affinity Stones, and the one I think we kept forgetting about because we didn't really know that much about it or at all with Soul Stone.
Right.
So I think it paid off pretty well that he had to get into Nebula's head to know that Gamora wasn't telling him the truth. So even though she's like, I don't know, and he's like, I know you know because I just hacked into her brain,
her memories or whatever. Yeah.
God, and the thing is, like, I guess maybe he only wanted Nebula around so he could have part cyborg, so he could do things like that to her.
Maybe. He's a psycho, basically. And thanks to Guardians 2, they developed the Nebula and Gamora kind of made peace with each other in that movie, and they had that like hug that gives me the feels, as most of that movie does. So that really that moment works where Gamora, like, because in the other movie she's like, oh, I don't give a shit about Nebula, she's a bitch, or whatever.
I hate her.
Yeah, and then in like the beginning of Volume 2, they're trying to kill each other through a lot of the movie. And then they kind of reconcile at the end that no, Thanos is the one that fucked both of us up. I didn't mean to not be there for you. I was scared for myself. I was a scared little kid. Taken from my planet and just trying to survive. And so they kind of, have a common enemy and they make peace with each other. And I think that really sells the emotional beat of Gamora kind of yielding to save her sister, who gets out and kicks ass because Nebula's amazing.
And then Loki tried to yield to save his brother. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like, all these people have fucked up family lives, and it's just like, yeah, I had to, like I said earlier, the Star-Lord's like, yeah, my dad killed my mom, so I had to kill my dad, and everybody's just got like siblings and parents that are just killing each other and stuff, and it's really messed up. So then she says it's on Vormir, and they go to Vormir, and then guess who's guarding the Soul Stone? But Red Skull, not Hugo Weaving playing him, but still. So. You were like, oh, there he is. He is in this movie. How was that moment for you? You remember Red Skull? I mean, it's been a while since you've seen that movie, but...
I actually saw it not that long ago.
First Avenger?
Yeah, I thought so.
It's been a while since I've seen that movie, actually.
We were watching while we were doing computer stuff.
Oh, I don't remember. It's been a while.
Oh.
At least a few years.
Oh, anyway. I thought that was good. I thought that was a good payoff, because, like, what had happened to him over the last 7 years, because he never really died. But
he got shot up into space somewhere.
Right, but it's also like, poor guy. He's been spending the last 19 years guarding this cliff, basically.
Basically, he's like, I hang out on this mountain.
But who said he had to do that?
I don't know.
That's what's. I would like to have
There-
explanation
there's
on why
been-
he's there.
You want a Red Skull movie about somebody saying, you need to stand here. And he's like, I don't want to. And they're, yes, you will. And it's like, okay.
Yeah,
That sounds boring.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a comic book that will come out to answer that at some
he's
point.
like dressed in his little
Cloak thing?
Like that's all shattered. Like what's the word? Like torn up,
tattered?
Tattered. His little tattered cape, and with his tattered hood cape thing. And he's Red Skull when he's guarding a cliff with his little tattered cape. I'm like, this does not fit. This is weird.
I mean, chances are
It was
never.
interesting he showed up.
Chances are we'll never see him again. I think it was people just being like, "Hey, what the hell ever happened to Red Skull?" Oh, okay, that's
You
where he
mean
is.
you?
Okay, thanks. Well, no, people have been saying
I
that
know,
for.
but you were one of the people.
Yeah, I was one of those people because I was like, "Hey, he's one of Captain America's like greatest enemies. You're just gonna shoot him up?" And then we're like, not shoot him up. That sounds like he's doing drugs. But you're like shooting him out into space, and then we were like with a big question mark for forever and ever. And it's like, okay, no, he's on this planet. He's doing this. And that's what he's doing. Okay, thank you. That's all I needed. So chances are we won't see him again. And then, of course, it's revealed that in order to get the Soul Stone, I don't know who put this enchantment on it or whatever, but Thanos has to kill someone that has to give up something he loves. Someone he loves, I guess.
Soul for a soul.
Exactly. A soul for a soul. And then Gamora's like, "Ha, you asshole! The universe. You said you wanted something from the universe, and the universe said no." And then he's crying, and Red Skull's like, his tears aren't for him. And Thanos reluctantly, and I love that Gamora tries to kill herself to prevent him from doing it. Remember? And again, the bulb knife turns to bubbles, and throws her to her death. How did you feel about the death of Gamora? Were
I
you
know that she would have
expecting
wanted
it,
that.
or were you like?
I know. Oh yeah. I mean, at that point when he had to take a soul for soul, I knew he
You're
was
like,
gonna.
oh shit!
I knew he was gonna back down.
Yeah, but she could have gotten away or something. It could have played out
Right.
differently. Or were you
no,
like, fuck,
I
bye,
knew,
Gamora?
I think
Gamora?
I knew going to this that I had a suspicion that he was gonna get all the stones.
By the end of the movie,
Yeah.
you didn't think he would win.
No, I didn't think he was gonna win.
You thought he would
This
get
is a
close.
Marvel movie.
So in your mind, this movie played out more or less the same, but but Thor would have gone for the head instead with his Stormbreaker,
Right.
and then won, and then we stopped Thanos. Now let's go celebrate and revel.
Some shawarma.
Yeah, shawarma. I saw a shawarma place.
No, I think it
Loki.
played out very interesting. And I know that not the death that she would have wanted for herself. That's why she wanted.
Well,
to kill
she was
herself
just
first.
trying to stop
But she's very
him from getting
prideful.
the. Well, she was not only that. She didn't want if she kills herself, he can't get the stone. That was more. It was selfless that she was trying to do that to protect everyone, which is kind of crazy that she turned out to be so virtuous and she was raised by Thanos. And according to the movie, we sort of knew this before in Guardians. She wasn't always that way because he's talking about, oh, and you used to fight alongside me and blah blah blah, like sort of how Hela was working with Odin to destroy civilizations
Except
and
it
conquer
was
things.
reversed. Odin wanted to.
Right, yeah, exactly. It was one of those things. So Gamora is a more complicated character, almost sort of like Black Widow, where she's looking for redemption. You know, the whole Black Widow. I've got red in my ledger. I want to wipe it out or whatever.
I would be curious to find out why these characters want redemption. Like what changed their minds, changed their soul.
We're gonna get a Black Widow movie potentially soon, so maybe
what about
I don't know.
Gamora? Why
maybe
does
we'll
she
delve
not
into
want
that.
redemption? Why? What happened with Odin? Why he wanted redemption? It's just curious to me on
Not
why
everybody's
their
gonna get their own
soul-
movie, Kai.
I know, but it's just interesting why the psychology of it. That,
Yeah, no,
that
it is.
they- that
How
there's-
do sort of bad people turn good in a way?
Yeah,
yeah.
it's kind of like,
I don't know. We've seen Loki do that like 4 times.
and even even in real life, people seek redemption, but not on such a grand scale.
Well, no, they're not in comic book movies.
Right.
So, and then he gets the Soul Stone, and he kind of wakes up in the little in the water, and it's in his hands, or comes to his hand, it appears in his hands, and he's like gunk in his gauntlet. So that was very upsetting, and the whole, like I said earlier, the whole Star-Lord reveal thing, and as much as it sucks that Star-Lord ruined that plan because of the reveal of Gamora's death, it makes sense
Soul Stone for a second.
that he would feel that way. What?
So Red Skull's job now for 90 years is to guard
Stonekeeper.
Is Stonekeeper of the Soul Stone. So in those 90 years, he never met anyone else. No one else ever came there sick enough to be like, yeah, I'm gonna kill someone I love.
I mean, they have to know where to go.
True.
It seems, and if Thanos is who has
But how
allies,
did Gamora get the map? Who did she get it
We
from?
didn't see that movie. Do you want that movie?
Well, no, I'm just mean that if she knew where the map was, then someone else probably did too.
Maybe that person's dead.
Or got the map from. Well, she would have had to kill them.
Well, Thanos is very well connected, and Thanos didn't know where it was, and he knew where all the other 5 ones were.
But I just mean, like, in 90 years, if the people that wanted that stone too, that he had to guard it, wasn't like, you know what? I'm not going to kill someone I love. Like, you'd think they would be just as power hungry.
Right. Well,
maybe seek the stones in the first place.
Well, maybe they didn't know. Like I said, maybe they didn't know where to go.
Well, the person that told Gamora where to go with the map, they knew.
All right. Well, that's backstory. We don't get the details there.
I just thought it was interesting.
I don't know if it's a plot hole necessarily.
No, it's not a plot hole. I just thought it was interesting.
Oh, it is interesting. Yeah. So you want to know you want the Red Skull to sit you down and be like, let me tell you about all the other people that tried to come here. Or maybe no one came there. In fact, it's by the way he talks, he's like, I've been here for a lifetime waiting for someone to come. Maybe he's just been like, I've been hanging out here, catching up on my reading for like 90 years. It's really boring. Thank God you came along, and I haven't seen anybody since Cap shot me into space in that stupid cube.
That's true. Yeah.
Maybe he's just been like hanging out. He's like, I used to be Hugo Weaving, and now I'm not. Look how much things have changed.
And I wear a tattered cape.
I wear a tattered cloak situation. So I like the Soul Stone thing, the subplot, and how that plays out. I think that's pretty powerful. And I think, like I was saying, with the flashback with little Gamora and all the Thanos,
which was very to her liking.
All the Thanos visions and everything were very, like, they felt, like I think I said a minute ago, like very artfully done. Like, it almost felt like it was coming out of an indie movie. Like, it was very quiet and, like, very introspective. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like it comes from a $300 million, dun, 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 like a big bombastic movie. It was, like, very quiet, and him sitting down with her and the blade balancing. Or then later on when he has his little vision at the end, and she's like, did you do it? He's like, yes. He's like, what did it cost? And it's like, everything. It's, like, very quiet and sort of somber.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really kind of interesting for a big blockbuster movie like this, to take those quiet moments for character beats with a character that we only really have seen in detail this first time.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to go back to what he was saying at the end of the movie, but after we talk about the last stone.
Yes. Okay. So the Mind Stone, in this movie, and that's the thing. And I've heard someone else talk about this on a podcast. That actually I think it was Joanna Robinson, because they had a whole conversation. That's the only one podcast I've heard review about this movie so far. Is that something like Justice League? She mentioned in the thing that I heard, the episode that I heard of Storm of Spoilers, that Justice League cross-cut to all kinds of different things, but felt very like disjointed and confusing, and like nothing made any fucking sense. And you're like, okay, I guess now we're in the mascara, and now we're over here. I don't really know what's going on. Fine, I guess.
Well, DC's problem.
Again, we're not trying to rip on DC.
No,
it's just
not.
I'm referencing a podcast where they made that comparison.
Need help. DC isn't as like tightly controlled
Right.
with their scripts
and we're not saying
their direction than Marvel is. Marvel has had 19 films and the help of Disney to make sure that every single piece has continuity, that it's tightly woven. And it's like you even said with Age of Ultron, like they
were planning
told Joss
for these
Whedon to
movies
set
years
these
in
things up
advance.
before.
Yeah.
So that's why it flows. And DC, they just don't have the, I don't know.
And we're not saying this because we're trying to be haters. I would love nothing more than for DC's movies to be as strong as Marvel's
Your
movies.
favorite comic book hero is Batman.
Yeah, exactly. Well, most people's favorite comic book hero is Batman, I feel like, except for until recently, when he's been in subpar movies, according to a lot of people, and me. But so anyway, Justice League gets a lot of cross-cutting and like everybody's storyline, blah blah blah. This movie does so, and it, because we know, like you were saying, because it's all been planned out, because we know all these characters, you can cut from Iron Man and whatever crazy shit, just Peter Parker on a bus, to Vision and Scarlet Witch in Scotland, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, okay, now we're going to see what's happening with them. Oh, the Guardians, Rubber Band Man, cool. I love this song. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we go to Scotland, and we catch up with the Last Stone, going into the Mind Stone. And Vision and Scarlet Witch have their little romance subplot going full force. They've been basically, since Civil War, kind of meeting up in between missions and kind of getting sexy or whatever they're doing. I thought that was very sweet. And I thought that they did a lot of setting that up. Not really in Age of Ultron, because they barely met in Age of Ultron. He kind of saved her, and that's pretty much their only interaction. But in Civil War, where he's like, no one dislikes you, Wanda. That whole thing. And
he made her
Paprikash and all that I thought was really well done. And they gave us, I think, enough of their relationship to make you feel like, oh, you know, they've been hanging out for 2 years, kind of whatever, undefined relationship. I buy into the fact that they would develop real feelings for each other over that time. So I thought that was interesting. And of course, they get attacked by the children of Thanos, the Black Order, and that's where we see your boy comes into it finally, Captain America, and then Black Widow and Falcon come in, and they have that whole battle in Scotland. Did you like that action sequence? Personally, I feel like that one's actually maybe one of the lesser ones in the movie.
Oh yeah,
just
but I don't
because
think it was supposed
it's really dark. And a lot of it happens like really fast, and it doesn't feel like
You know
it
what
didn't
they
feel
say
as
about
satisfying.
action scenes in the dark?
What do they say?
Not as much money gets put into it.
That's probably why that was done that way. Then
They had to put the money into CGI.
it's
and
not as
motion
fully
capture.
rendered, the
Yeah.
CG and everything.
And all the scene in Wakanda took a lot of the budget too. Yeah.
That's part of this thread, so we'll get there in a second. So and then they go to. So how did you feel about everybody showing up? And basically, Cap, Falcon, and Black Widow have been doing their secret Avengers thing, which is a thing in the comics, where they're kind of running around doing missions and kicking ass and saving people and whatever on the down low against the government.
She's Black Widow though. She signed the accord, but she's still like, all right, I'm gonna go work with
She's like, I do what I want.
Captain America anyway. Yeah, she sounds like me.
And
I would do that too.
Captain America's like, he's like, oh, don't get in our way. We'll have to fight you. And I'm way past asking for permission. Did you get a little like, oh yeah, that's my boy?
Yeah, I'm like, those are the things I say all the time.
Yeah, that's why you like Captain America. He always does the right thing, even when he has to go against the law to do it.
Yeah, that's my boy.
I know you love him. So then they go to.
We didn't have much. He didn't have much to do in this movie.
Which
I
is
guess 'cause
in my
he's being
review. In my review on monkeysfightingrobots.com, and not self promotion, I guess, but this whole thing is self promotion. It's my podcast. I mentioned in there specifically that Black Widow, Black Panther, and Captain America, none of them really get a very much time to have their story. You know, like Black Widow's story in here is, oh, I'm fighting with Cap. That's my story. I like to fight. All us ladies like to fight together, I guess, is that moment that you love, which I did too. That was great. And then Black Panther's like, I'm here fighting stuff. Oh, now I'm dead. You know what I mean? Like, they don't really get, which makes sense because 2 out of those 3 people will be in the next movie from the jump, at least. But it does feel like Captain America got like the short end of the stick in this one, which is fine. Whatever. It's, you know, he'll be like probably one of the main characters.
But it's also he has, and the thing with the Avengers movie is it is an ensemble.
It isn't,
like
but I feel like we got a
Civil
lot more
War.
Iron Man than Captain America. Is my point.
Right.
Or Doctor Strange, or Spider-Man,
Right,
or
that's
whatever.
true. But it's also
Star-Lord.
Captain America's had 3 movies, and all 3 of them have been good. And he was pretty much the star of the first 2. Can't really say that about the third one.
No, the third
'cause that
one's in
was
Avengers. It's Captain America, but really Avengers.
Right, exactly.
Because him and Iron Man have about the same amount of screen time in that movie.
Or maybe Chris Evans was doing something else, and he couldn't be in it as much.
Yeah, it's just a
might
function
explain the
of the
beard.
story. It's just a function of the story in this one, I think, too. And everything going on, it's like he plays his role, and now his role will be more important, you know, in the next film. So,
When he possibly dies,
maybe.
and I'll cry.
Well,
and I'll
we're gonna
rally.
get to Avengers 4 predictions and stuff at the end, at the very, very end. So, which we're getting close to. I know we're going long here. So then they go to Avengers headquarters, where Rhodey is there wearing his little magic legs, so he can walk around even after getting paralyzed at the end of Civil War. And I like that it seems at this point that War Machine is basically like he signed the accords, but he's kind of on Cap's side at this point. He's like, where Secretary Ross is like, arrest them. He's like, yep, I'm already on it. And then he says, he signs off. He's like, hey, Steve, what's going on? How's it going? That he's basically on there. Like, he's come around, it seems like, since Civil War. That he regrets the decision to stop signing the accords. So I think it's pretty safe to say the accords
He
are
just kind of alive just does what Iron Man does.
I guess. He's more patriotic and more like by the book and then everything than Iron Man. He's got the same powers. He's got a
But
similar
it's funny. They're both War Machine and Captain America are both soldiers.
Yeah,
They're both in military.
So they bond on that level, I guess. That makes sense.
But one went rogue and the other one
So
stayed.
Sokovia Accords will probably be nullified in the next movie, I'm assuming, which is probably for the best for the future of this franchise. But so then they go there and they're trying to figure out, you know, Bruce is there, and the Bruce Nat The Hulk and Black Widow moment where they see each other again was very underwhelming to me. I was
Yeah,
like, that's
it was.
it? And then just to get Falcon being like, that was awkward, and that's all you get from that?
Yeah.
I mean, after all that buildup, but they're like,
They have more of a love affair for
Yeah, what the hell was that?
Vision and Scarlet Witch. Than they
or
ever
Bucky
did.
and Steve,
Yeah. than they ever did for Bruce and
according to the slash fiction
and
that I'm sure
Black
is
Widow.
out there.
But I also don't see it with those two anyway.
No, I guess, but like
I know they were
after
trying
Age
to
of
create
Ultron,
that, but-
after Age of Ultron, they should have at least had a little mini conversation, something to be like, yeah, I was into you and you flew away. What the fuck happened? He's like, I don't know. Hulk and I are not doing very well. You know, something. I don't know. It was, maybe we'll get more in the next one. It was kind of disappointing, that
With all the
interaction.
communication that they have technology-wise, you think they would have found a
Well,
way
he
to
was in
talk in the last
space,
3
and
years.
he was in space for 2 years, and then fighting for Asgard, and then ran into Thanos. So it's like he hasn't had really a chance to be like, hold on, let me give her a call with my space phone that makes calls from space, I guess. He's been like as off the grid as you could
somebody
be.
gets a page in space.
Well, we'll get there. So, nice hint at the tease of what's coming in a second. So they go. Of course, this is one of my favorite moments, knowing how much I love this particular film. So then Bruce Banner comes in, and he's like, "Oh, well, in Vision, maybe we don't have to kill you. Maybe you have a choice. Maybe we could take that stone out of you. You know, it's Ultron, it's Tony, me. There's all this stuff going on in your head. Maybe we could take the stone out, and Vision could still be a thing." And there's like, "Oh, well, I don't know how we could do that." He's like, "I know someone who can." And then you hear the dun 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 T'Challa, dun 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 dun. And of course, we go into Wakanda, and everybody relocates there. We get a little Black Panther action. How did you feel about the Black Panther, for lack of a better term, representation in this film?
Oh, it was cool. Yeah, it's good to see him back so soon after the last movie.
He didn't have as much to do. He was more just the guy they turned to for help in this movie, really.
Right.
But I mean, if
Which
you're gonna
seems to
make,
be his
if you're gonna
default
make,
setting now.
well, yeah, and that's why Cap was like, every time I see you, I feel like I'm thanking you for something. Remember?
Yeah.
But if you're gonna make a last stand, that's a great place to do it. As Bucky says, it's like, I love this place. I'm like, me too. I want to go there. That seems awesome. I want to go hang out with Shuri and see what she's doing. So then you get Shuri and Okoye and M'Baku. No Lupita Nyong'o or Daniel Kaluuya.
They're busy making Oscar.
They're just busy doing their own things. Yeah, which is fine. Whatever.
Or Lupita Nyong'o is doing another Star
I don't know
Wars
if
movie.
either one of those are going to be in the next movie, but considering what happens with T'Challa, I wouldn't be surprised if Nakia's like, what the hell? I want to be a part of this. Because she's kind of a badass too. She's a spy, like Black Widow, sort of.
Right. She'll most likely be in Black Panther 2.
Oh, well, yeah, she'll definitely be in there.
Some of these characters won't show up again until the next sequel,
Right.
you know?
Right. Well, yeah. Well, and in some people's case, they don't. Then they just disappear completely. Jane Foster, which I'm fine with because she sucks.
Well, look at...
Not Natalie Portman, Jane Foster, huh?
Look at Gwyneth Paltrow. I mean, she
She took a
wasn't
break
really-
from these movies for a while, and then
came
so-
out back with Spider-Man for like 2 seconds, and then was I
Which
guess in this for 2 seconds.
They needed that because it sets up in here that, oh, we're getting married, yay. So yeah, I liked seeing Wakanda. It's a little, Wakanda's not nearly as much fun or nearly as impactful in this movie because it's just like a place they go to fight, pretty much. You don't really get as much of the Wakandan society and their culture and stuff that you get in Black Panther, obviously. But I think Wakanda serves its purpose in here as basically, the locale. I mean, they've said that Kevin Feige said that Wakanda is going to be a important fixture in the MCU going forward. So it makes sense that this would be an occasion where everyone would sort of gather there to battle Thanos' army. I guess he has. How many armies does this guy have, by the way?
Oh God, a lot. But it also seems like Wakanda's that because Vibranium is there, and Vibranium has made up so many of the Avengers.
Well,
weapons,
mostly
I
Captain
guess.
America's shield
Right. Okay.
and Black Panther's suit, and that's it, I guess.
Well, didn't Winter Soldier have?
Oh, his arm now is made there.
But who made his arm before?
Hydra. It was just metal. If it was Wakanda, if it was
Really strong metal that was
Yeah.
going through asphalt.
yeah, but if it was vibranium, it wouldn't I don't think Iron Man would have been able to blow it off like he did in Civil War.
I guess.
Now he's got like a vibranium arm. Now that's serious. That's just not coming off now, fuckers. So everybody's fighting, and Captain America and everybody are doing their thing, and they're taking down all the rest of the Black Order. So what are some of the big highlights here? Well, you loved the moment where Okoye and Black Widow and Scarlet Witch all fight. What's her face? Proxima Midnight. And you want to talk about that?
Yeah, no, I just thought that was it was first 3 of them, I guess Scarlet Witch and Black Widow, and then the Proxima Midnight Lady all fighting. I'm like, oh, that's cool, really cool. Three women, 3 badass women fighting, really cool. And then
Okoye comes in,
and now it's 4 badass ladies fighting them. And it made
One
me
of them
think
is
back to
stupid
Wonder
CG
Woman.
though.
Yeah, one of them made me think back to Wonder Woman.
Well, that's why a lot of people are saying, supposedly Marvel is open to doing like a female-led ensemble film, and then they do have that comic book A-Force that I found out about after. When did I find out about that? After Black Panther, I think, or maybe around there, because there's like 4 amazing like badass women in that movie.
Well, what would be cool is if they had Captain Marvel, Black Widow, Scarlet Witch.
Well, Captain Marvel's already the lead of her own franchise, so I wonder if they would do that with all the supporting ones.
No, just like some.
Well, if Gamora comes
spin-off.
back,
Yeah, some spinoff.
there's a lot of really badass women
Yeah.
in these movies. I would be down for. I mean, I love all those characters that you're talking about. In fact, I'm thinking about I might have to do a X number of best female characters in the
When
MCU.
you think about it, it's the women.
Shuri.
That are some of the most the strongest characters.
Some people are speculating that Shuri will be the MCU's next Iron. Not man,
technically
but
she sounds like
Iron.
she's smarter than him.
I forget what because there is a lady Iron Man, like a woman that becomes Iron Man after Tony Stark.
Iron Lady, like Margaret Thatcher.
What is it? No, they don't call her that.
That'd be cool.
What do they call her? I forget. Iron something, and not Iron Man. So
Not
maybe
Iron Maiden?
maybe Shuri will be that version of that.
Maybe is that why they're called Iron Maiden?
I don't
Because
think
of-
so. That would be amazing. But that Shuri might be the version of that, or that she would be eventually, when T'Challa's done in a few years, she would be the next Black Panther, which she does become the ruler of Wakanda, and actually think does become Black Panther in the comics.
Well, it's also like
So
I
she's
said,
got a real future with this
well,
franchise.
look at Scarlet, but she's not a fighter. I'm talking about
Letitia Wright? Shuri? Yes, she is.
Not as much.
Not as well.
Not as
She's
much
got to
as
train.
Black-
Maybe
not
in Black
as much as
Panther
Black
2 she'll.
Widow and-
Maybe in Black Panther 2 she'll train up a little.
But look at Scarlet Witch. She's by far she's the most powerful,
Of the women, yeah.
and the Avengers.
Well,
She
until
was
Captain
able to stop. She was able to stop Thanos.
until Captain Marvel.
Well, we haven't seen her powers yet. I'm talking about what just happened.
I know.
But you can't. She was able to try to get Vision's Mind Stone, which I guess
She was
we're about to
holding
get-
Thanos off, yeah.
That's
If he didn't have the time stone, that would have been the end of that, as far as completing the Infinity
Yeah.
Gauntlet.
exactly. Thanks a lot, Doctor Strange.
Stupid. Well, we're still in his one scenario, probably. So they're doing their thing, and Shuri's trying to get Vision Stone out of the way, and Scarlet Witch goes down there to help, and then Okoye has that great line where she's like, where's she been all this time, or whatever. And exactly, she leaves, and then they go after Vision, because that was why Scarlet Witch was there, to destroy the stone as soon as it was done. As soon as Shuri was done doing her work. I wish we got more Shuri in this. We got more Okoye than we do Shuri, which I understand for storyline purposes. And we don't know what happens to Shuri at the end of the movie, so I hope she's didn't go into ashes, because I love her, and I think she was probably the most surprising and popular character to come out of Black Panther, even more so than Okoye.
And by the way, she's in the commuter for like a minute.
Half a second, right? And you were like, is that Shuri? I was like, yeah, I think she is. I think I did hear she's in this. And I looked it up. I was like, oh my God, she is in this. I love Letitia right now. I didn't know who she was until Black Panther, really. So, so that was cool. The whole Wakanda Last Stand. But the big moment when What's-His-Face comes in with Stormbreaker, and we see the Bifrost goes down, and What's-His-Face comes in. What's his face?
Thor.
You like Thor too? So you like Thor or Captain America? If you were on the
I
dating
like-
game and you had to choose between Thor, like forget Rob doesn't exist. If you have to choose between Thor or Captain America, not Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth, Thor or Captain America. Like, oh yes, we will tour the 9 realms, and I'll show you my weapons.
Captain America.
Captain America,
Yeah.
nice.
Thor's still too so cool.
Medievally.
Morons.
So
Laura Rabbit.
yes, we will ride the Bifrost.
Yeah, he's like a
A leisurely
like a-
stroll in the Bifrost.
he's like a god. He's like a surfer god or something.
Which is why Tony Stark called him Point Break. And that's what his codename was on the Quinjet in
I
Ragnarok.
thought he also said because he had blonde hair, like
No, all of that.
Patrick Swayze.
All of that, probably.
And by the way, what is why does Spider-Man know so much about Footloose in these 80s movies? I'm like, dude, you're like 17.
He's a hipster.
Yeah, you've seen more of these 80s movies.
Yeah, that
than
was
I've
funny.
seen.
Oh my god, I'm glad you brought that up. Because he's like, oh, you mean like in Footloose? Because then they referenced the dance-off from Guardians. I need to go back and watch the first Guardians again now, I think. And now I'm in like, I want to go back and watch all 18 of these again. The 17 that I have, and then
Wow,
Black
that's
Panther when it
serious.
comes out.
You're
Actually,
serious.
16. I don't have Ragnarok yet. And then he's like, ew, Star-Lord's like, is it still the best movie ever? And then Spider-Man's like, it never was. And I was like, nice. That's right. Well, but remember, Star-Lord was also a kid in the early to mid 80s when he got taken
I
by.
wasn't saying Star Wars. I said Spider-Man.
I know. But when he was taken with Yondu, so that's all he knows as far as like Footloose is the best movie ever because I saw it when I was like 10.
Right, no, I understand that side. I just don't know
Or whatever.
where Spider-Man came from, being a 17-year-old kid, 16, 17, where he's like, Footloose.
14,
and
I guess he was.
Alien.
Not
Like,
him. I'm talking about something.
I'm like, you're talking about movies even I haven't seen.
Aliens?
And I'm 20
Yeah,
years
I
older
know.
than you.
I feel really bad. I'm a terrible husband that we've been together several years, and I still haven't shown you the Alien movies, at least the first two, because they're really great. And then you'll get the reference in the movie. He's
Also
like, have you
haven't
seen
seen
that really
Godfather
old movie,
either.
Alien?
Did you see it on me though? I'm like, why does he know about all these?
I know.
movies?
He's like, I didn't like that. I mean, I liked the way that it paid off, the way it played out. But that annoys me in Civil War when he's like, have you guys seen that really old movie, Empire Strikes Back? I'm like, dude, what are you, 6? They're like, it's a really old movie, Empire. Like, yes, one of the most successful and popular sequels of all time. I'm pretty sure they've heard of it. It's like, you're just this like genius kid, but you don't understand that. Oh, people know what Star Wars is. Yeah, we do. We also know what Alien is. We watch movies. What the fuck kind of thing is that? Plus, I wonder if it's funny that they name drop Alien, which is a Fox movie. If that's them being like, wait, we're gonna get Fox now, because they mentioned
gonna
Star
reboot
Wars
it.
in the last one, like
Yeah.
the couple years after they got Star Wars. So I wonder if that's foreshadowing.
If that's their Easter egg.
Yeah, maybe. And then
That
like
they
in a
drop
few years when they buy
drop it all
Universal or Paramount.
They talk about all the franchises they're gonna buy before they like officially.
Yeah, they like hinted out. Maybe in like in another Marvel movie in like 5 years, in one of the Spider-Man movies, he'll be like, "Seen that really old movie, Mission Impossible or whatever?" And it's like
Right.
Paramount becomes the next studio they
You
buy
see
or whatever.
that movie? The
Trying to think of
Batman,
Paramount movies,
the
but I'm
Lego
blanking.
Batman movie.
They're not gonna. Warner Brothers is doing very well. They're not gonna. Well, except for the. Never mind. I don't want to mention
But
it
is
again.
Lego owned by Warner Brothers?
The film rights are. All those movies are Warner Brothers.
Right, but
Lego movies, a Warner
but
Brothers
you
movie.
can buy film rights.
Yeah, but
But if they
I
buy
don't know.
but they buy the merchandise, if Disney buys merchandise of Legos, like it did with buying Marvel Comics.
Well, they do
which
license out.
affected
Like Lego does have the license to do like Lego Star Wars and things like that.
right. So
I don't know. Now we're getting into it. That's a separate conversation.
that's a business conversation.
We're already past the 90-minute mark. I think we should stay focused. So yeah, that happens. Now I forgot where we left. So Thor shows up with Stormbreaker, and
I don't like
Hulk.
that name.
I know it's not as fun as Mjolnir.
I can't even. I liked what she
Meow
said.
meow. And then Bruce Banner has that great moment where he's like, "Oh, you guys are screwed now," and then the music kicks in. Dun 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 dun.
Too bad I didn't play the immigration song. That would have been fun.
Oh, yeah, that would have been great. And then go into the score after when they're fighting.
And that's the first time he had a weapon and his thunder all at once.
Well, now he's got the power of the Bifrost, so now he can be like, "Bye, everyone. I'm going to Vormir to kick the Grit Skull's ass."
Oh, he does.
You didn't get that because they mentioned it maybe during that scene where you were at in the bathroom and the troll and the dwarf is like that.
I guess I heard them say that.
Now
but I
he
understand.
can harness the power of the Bifrost. Remember before he needed Heimdall to send him over there with the Bifrost with the Rainbow
Right.
Bridge and shit.
Is that's the scene he almost died in this movie because trying to get his axe made and he got his power back. Power
This
was
whole
high
thing
because
with
he got
the-
his axe
yeah.
back.
Oh, and
Got his axe.
that was the one line that Peter Dinklage had that I thought was hilarious, where he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna stop it." He's like, "If you do that, it's suicide. You'll be taking the full force of the star." He's like, "Only if it'll kill you." He's like, "Only if I die." And then Peter Dinklage is like, "Yes, that's what killing you means." I thought that when he does the thing with his eyes, that was a great moment, really funny and a lot of fun. So then Thor has the big hero moment, probably one of the biggest hero moments of the movie, actually.
For sure. What's the other one?
I don't know, Cap fighting off Thanos with his bare hands when he's just like a really strong dude fighting this alien like with the powers of a god. I thought that was pretty bad. Like you've seen that a lot in the trailers and all of that. So Thor does his thing there, and Vision goes to help out in the fight to help Captain America, and there's that great callback to when Captain America's like, "We don't trade lives." and Vision saves him, but in doing so, puts himself vulnerable. So and then Scarlet Witch is going to kill. Am I hitting everything on the way here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then Scarlet Witch goes to destroy the Mind Stone, which is in this really powerful moment where she's killing the android she loves for the greater good, and it works, and she destroys it, and then she's mourning, and Thanos is like, I understand, it's all good, I've been there. He's like, let me just rewind this a second. He gets the Time Stone, and I thought it was cool how the Time Stone whatever stone
at that moment,
maybe whatever stone he's using
she could have mourned a minute later.
Whatever stone he's using kind of lights up, and it's like, hey, this is the one he's accessing now. I thought that was really neat, and he does the little turn, the little knobs show up, the little metaphysical knobs, where he's like turning time back. I thought that was really
he knows how to operate all these things.
Whatever.
Well, that's what they were taught. But
he also has a magic glove that rules the universe.
Talks about in the article that for the Time Stone, they would have to. Doctor Strange, he's not alive, so they would probably have to go to. I don't remember the guy's name.
Which guy?
The guy that's guarding the
Wong.
Yeah, they have to go to him.
I like Wong. More Wong in Avengers.
Learn how to use the Time Stone.
Probably.
Yeah, Thanos is like, I know how to use it.
Stark and Banner have been to the Sanctorum, so I'm sure that they'll end up, if Wong is still.
But do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, if Wong is not all ashy, literally at this point, I'm sure that then that will play into it. That they'll go see Wong. He knows a lot of the mystic arts. He's not as powerful a wizard as Doctor Strange, obviously, but he's a nice, good resource for them going forward. So yeah, more Benedict Wong in Avengers 4, hopefully. And which is weird because Benedict Wong is the actor's name and the character's name is Wong.
Wow.
Just
and his
throwing
name
that
is
out
Benedict?
there. His name in real life is Benedict Wong, and the other guy's Benedict Cumberbatch. Yeah.
It's a very
two Benedicts.
Are they both from England?
I don't think so. I think Benedict Wong is Chinese. I don't know if he has any.
But he could be born in England.
Maybe, I don't know. I know he's Chinese ethnicity.
Yeah, that's random.
But I don't know what the whole thing is. Anyway, or nationality, not ethnicity. Ethnicity is different. So, did you? How was that? How did you process that moment where you think that Scarlet Witch saved the day, and then Thanos just rewinds it? Did you you didn't think it was going to work? Or did you think she was going to stop him? Or you're making a scrunched face up right now, which I don't know what that means.
Work. And
you're like, oh, come on. Scarlet Witch is not going to be the one. She's powerful, but she's not that interesting of a character. It's not a Scarlet Witch movie.
I said he was. I had a feeling he was going to get all the stones.
You did.
From the beginning, but because he was,
on
a mission. No, but one thing I was also thinking about to why it wasn't going to work is when she broke the stone, pieces went everywhere. You could still use a piece.
Yeah, but I think that the idea in this film is that if it's shattered, it's broken. You can't crazy glue a Mind Stone back together, and it's no, it still has its magical properties. It doesn't work that way, I don't think.
I guess it just looks like it makes the stone look bigger than it really was, just by how many pieces it breaks into.
Yeah, I can see that. Lots of little. Have you ever dropped a glass, and it doesn't look that big, but then pieces of glass are all over your freaking living room floor.
For years to come.
Oh, it's annoying. I hate that. That's why I get so paranoid when things break. Anyway, or a Christmas ornament was it last year, and you're like, holy crap! Why are there pieces of glass like a couple rooms over? That's crazy. Anyway, now we're getting really off point. So he rewinds it, gets the Mind Stone, and he's like, yes, the power! I feel it flowing through me. And then your boy comes in with Stormbreaker, still not a great name. And did you, at that point, did you think Thor saved? Did you think Thor won? You're like, yes, Thor's going to be the one to kill him, but revenge Loki and bring this whole movie full circle.
I thought,
because at that point he had the full gauntlet.
Yeah, I thought at that point, because this is a Marvel movie and they don't like to just
have a downbeat ending.
Yeah, and just
kill half their cast. Really?
I thought they got it. I was like,
even after you didn't think
even after I knew there was going to be Infinity War Part 2
of some sort.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, they may have gotten him because he looked like he was weakening and he did get the gauntlet.
He was weakening for sure.
But and Thor is powerful enough that he could
take a god to kill a god type of thing.
Yeah. But no, that's not what happened.
No, what happened is that Thanos says, you should.
But what about you? What did you think?
there was a lot of theorizing going on beforehand, and obviously I write for different sites about this kind of stuff. There was a lot of fan theorizing that it's going to end with a finger snap, and I'm just glad that it didn't end with him being like, "You should have gone for the head." Snap. Credits. Then I would have been like, "Son of a bitch, fuck you." Now I don't even know what the fallout, which is not a reference to the next Mission Impossible movie, but it might as well be because it looks awesome. Now I don't even know what that is, like what the fallout of this is. You got to give me more than that. So at least he snapped it, and then Thor is like, knowing that Thanos is super powerful, he's just like, "What did you do? What did you just do? What the fuck was that?
But why
What
did he even
happened?"
ask? I think he would,
I thought that was great.
You would have thought he would know what he just did.
Well, I don't
He
think
doesn't want to talk about snapping his
that's
fingers.
true because Gamora told him on the Milano there.
But it's also nobody's ever had the Infinity Gauntlet before, like all Infinity Stones. So it could have all just been theory what she said,
Right.
Like
That's
just
true.
being
That's
like
true.
kind of just saying it like in casual, like
He thought
kinda like a casual statement.
Legend has it that if
Like
you
an-
get all the Infinity
like
Stones,
like an
you just stab your
exaggeration
finger.
type of thing.
Right.
Like,
Legend has it, like kind of
right,
thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, just exaggeration. We snap your
Well,
fingers.
they say in the beginning of the movie,
Not so literal.
I don't know if it's Ebony Maw or whichever those boring
The Puppet
CG
Man?
people. Yeah, the Puppet Man. That's a great. I'm glad that you just call him the Puppet Man now. Well, I think it's him that says, "No one has ever had 2 Infinity Stones before. This is a first for me. You're a groundbreaking pioneer, Thanos."
What a
Because
suck up.
he didn't say all that. I'm embellishing now. But he gets the Power Stone and he gets the Space Stone. So, because we've seen in all these other movies, Malekith got 1 stone. Everybody gets 1 stone. This is the first time anyone's gotten more than 1 stone, and he gets all of the stones by the end of this film. So Thor does that, and then he snaps his fingers, and then people are like, "What the hell? What's going on? Everything cool? We all good?" And then people start disappearing. So we lose. Let's do a head count. Bucky, Falcon, T'Challa, Scarlet Witch. Thank you.
Vision.
Vision's already dead. So
Oh,
he
that-
doesn't.
oh, that's
he's already
head
dead.
count.
Yeah,
That's
the
a
head
total
count of
head
who
count.
goes Ash, who turns to Ash.
Ash to ashes, dust to dust.
Star Lord, Groot. Star Lord's up in Titan, but Groot, and then Rocket's like, "No, Groot, not again. I already lost Groot." Like the first movie.
Mantis.
Mantis, Star Lord. So on Titans, Mantis, Star Lord. I'm saving one for last, and I think you know who it is. Doctor Strange, Drax, and then the real kicker. And you know that they saved this for last on purpose because it's the one that's like the most gut wrenching. Is Peter Parker.
Yeah.
When he's standing there, he's like, "Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good." And they did such a great job, not only in Civil War, but in Spider-Man Homecoming, establishing that Tony Stark really sees a lot of himself in Peter Parker. And he relates to this kid who's like interested in science and wants to, do the right thing and save the world and bear this responsibility on his shoulders. And he's trying to, like he said in Spider-Man Homecoming, he wants him to be better than him. He's trying to really sort of be a father figure for this kid who doesn't have a father figure anyway, because his Uncle Ben died. I don't know if you've heard about this, but Spider-Man's Uncle Ben dies, and that's how that story kicks off. So for Tony Stark to have this young, basically 15-year-old kid die in his arms, I thought was really powerful. And yeah, of course, they're going to take it back in the next movie
Now
because
I'm pissed off.
Because there's a Spider-Man sequel coming up and all. And you're not going to freaking kill the most recognizable superhero you have before all these movies. With Spider-Man was still Spider-Man. But I thought that was a really powerful moment. And the way he's like, basically, like you alluded to earlier, realizes that he's seeing his vision from Age of Ultron sort of coming to pass. All these people that he cares about, that he thought he could protect, that he failed. In kind of encapsulated in Spider-Man dying in his arms. When he felt responsibility that he could protect him during this mission and in general and all that.
Well, I liked Spider-Man's quote in the beginning of the movie where he's like, how can I be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man when there's no neighborhood?
Yeah.
And he's like, you get what I'm saying? And I'm like, I totally get what you're saying. If humanity ceases to exist.
How am I supposed to take care of my Aunt May even, or like the people in New York, in Queens, if there's no Queens, if the Earth is like destroyed or whatever.
What if he kills? I wonder if Thanos has the power to kill animals. Like if humanity means humans or
I don't
everybody.
Know. That's a good question.
Because animals take resources too.
I don't know.
And it's like, how would the Infinity Stones know?
Yeah,
how to separate
that's
those
a good point.
species.
That's a good point. I don't know.
Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
See that for the next movie.
Maybe it's
Attack
humans
of
and
the Deer.
humanoid, human sentient. Well, either sentient, animals are sentient. So I don't know. That's a good question.
The Attack of the Deers in the next movie. The Attack of the Deer.
The Attack of the Deer. That's why they didn't announce the title yet, because they're gonna be like, oh man, people are gonna really, all those deer activists are gonna be like, no, attack the deer. The deer is attacking back. Revenge of the deer.
And the elephants with their good memories.
There you go. They never forget. I heard. And then so who we have left at the end of this is the original 5 out of the 6 Avengers. We don't see Hawkeye and Ant-Man. They're referenced that they made a deal with the government. So they're like...
But Ant-Man's not an original Avenger.
I know, but I'm saying those two characters.
Okay, all right.
He's an original Avenger in the comics, I believe.
But that's not
or
what I'm talking
Wasp is.
about.
Yeah, I know. But the original 5 out of the 6 Avengers that we see, we're assuming Hawkeye is okay because he's going to be in the next movie.
And actually, to say something about Ant-Man, I kind of feel bad for this character because he always gets followed up in his movies after an Avengers movie. Like, that's like the worst time, I think, to get a movie.
Or it's the best time.
Because I think people are still on like this weird high or low, depending on the...
It's the best time because you get that post-Avengers bump. Because Avengers came out, like Iron Man 1 and 2 did really well, right? They made a lot of money, 300 something, whatever, right? Avengers came out and made over $1 billion, and then Iron Man 3 was the very next one that came out, made over $1 billion.
Right. But
which is because of the post-Avengers bump.
Really
so
like
Ant-Man may not have made the first Ant-Man may not have made as much money as it did had it not come out right after Avengers Age of Ultron. Like 2 months later.
Yeah, I guess I just don't...
I think they do that on purpose because I think they know what you're saying. But they're also trying to make a franchise out of that. Right. At least 3 of them. So they're strategically positioning it right after Avengers. So people are like, oh, Marvel, maybe we'll get some hints about like what happened with Thanos. And then they're not going to see that, but they'll see Ant-Man. We'll still buy the ticket to Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, but we're really not going to have any more
insight into this?
Marvel movies until Ant-Man and the Wasp and
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel. That's amazing.
Yeah. So
because anyway,
you're jumping ahead.
I know.
We're going to do the future, the upcoming MCU stuff in a second. So we have Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, Hulk, Thor, Rocket, who's, like I mentioned this to you off pod, was the last remaining Guardian, which like that character is just already mired in sadness in general and takes it out of like in rage and like the way he carries himself. So, he's the only one of his friends left, which is, I feel really bad for Rocket now based on that. All these people have lost so much.
I know.
Including Thor, as they mentioned early in the movie. And now Rocket's never going to get Bucky's arm like he said he was going to. It's like, I'm going to get that arm. And like he's got this weird fetish for like cybernetic body parts. He's like, I got this eye from this guy. He fell asleep, so I took it. Oh, that was cool. Because they established that in the other movies. He's like, I want that eye. I want this thing. Get me his hand. Whatever.
Give me his leg.
Yeah. All that. Oh man, that's great. I love that. So Rocket and Gamora are my favorite.
Oh my
favorite
god!
Guardians.
I just realized something. Is that why back when the first Guardians came out and you could you could collect all the parts of, you could get all the the Guardians of the Galaxy dolls and
they're
collect
not dolls. You mean action figures?
Action figures.
Come on,
and
that's insulting to us guys that like toys.
Collect Rocket from getting all the action figures because they were trying to make
I think you built Groot. Actually, is what you built.
Groot? Oh,
because he would be a bigger toy than everybody else. So like, I think in that line of toys, I like your idea too. But Groot is a bigger toy, and I think you collect each one comes with like his head, his arm, his leg, whatever.
Hey Marvel, Disney, are you listening?
Build a cybernetic rocket.
Exactly.
Well, there's been hints that Guardians 3, whatever that's going to be about, is going to focus more on Rocket because Volume 2 ends on a shot of Rocket, like a close-up of Rocket. So there's been a lot of hints that James Gunn is going to be very Rocket central, focused story arc in Guardians 3. But now we're getting ahead of things. So Rocket, Nebula, and Okoye, and I think M'Baku, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Well, it's
and War Machine.
Because I was even thinking Nebula is mostly cyborg now. Is she really part of humanity? Could she really be killed at this point?
I guess that's a good point. I mean, she has a soul, so yeah, I assume so.
I guess so. Yeah. Okay. Good point.
Yeah, I guess going back to your soul stone thing. You know what else I thought too after this? T'Challa goes poof. So does that mean T'Challa's in that little dreamy place where his dad went? So can Okoye or Nakia or Shuri, can somebody go into that like sand bath and go commune with T'Challa?
I think we're out to see.
Remember?
Yeah.
I love that. Those scenes are some of my favorites in Black Panther.
And Killmonger was there too.
Yeah, Killmonger be like, man, this sucks. Why are we all doing here?
Yeah, no, we have to see. Probably, maybe we'll see it in Avengers 4, or we'll see it Black Panther 2. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
we'll see it
T'Challa will be
all,
back by then. By Black Panther 2, they'll brought him back to life.
That's true, because he's going to be leading his own movie.
He's the Black Panther.
Let's take it M'Baku.
I like M'Baku, actually.
He's kind of like the adoptive Black Panther, because people really like that character a lot.
People really like all this, like, you know, you mentioned that you like Black Panther, but he's not like your favorite.
Yeah.
And because I think in that movie, he's sort of overshadowed by all the supporting characters, are really dynamic and interesting and fun, and everybody wants to see more of Shuri, and especially Shuri and Okoye. So that's who we have left.
Yeah.
I said War Machine too. I don't know if you heard that.
Oh.
But
Yeah.
he's not that interesting as a character. I like Don Cheadle, but I've never found... actually, War Machine is probably one of my least favorites. I just don't find him that interesting. He's just kind of like, I'm Iron Man, but not Iron Man. I have a different colored suit, and that's
Right.
about it. I'm like, okay, that's what... And?
Yeah, exactly.
And what's your story? I'm a soldier, and I'm friends with Iron Man, and I fly around in a suit that looks like Iron Man's, but I'm not Iron Man. I'm War Machine. And I'm like, oh, man.
I also don't like that name.
War Machine?
Yes.
Well, he tried to be Iron Patriot in Iron Man 3 when the government tried to rebrand him or whatever.
Because War Machine, it's war.
I know. Well, he's a soldier, so he fights battles.
Negative
I know.
connotation.
Whatever. I think it's good that they're going to be giving Don Cheadle presumably more to do in Avengers 4. So going into... This finally leads us to Avengers 4. What are you expecting other than, of course, let's take a quick detour before we do that. So all these people go poof. Thanos is hanging out in his wherever he is, living his best life, I guess. Being like, yeah, I did that. I killed half of humanity. Life is good. Chilling and his little cottage or where the hell he is. He smiles, and that's the final frame. And then it goes, ding, quiet note of music, and then directed by Anthony and Joe Russo. And everybody's like, fuck you, Russo brothers!
Yeah, that was just mean.
They do that, and then they make you wait 10 minutes before you get your post-credit scene.
Which they never do that. They throw all
was
these credits in there, and then all of a sudden this one movie, they're like, oh no.
Well, because they want you to sit there for 10 minutes and just be like, wait a minute, what?
Plus, they're like, look at how many people were in this movie.
Look at all these people. Look at these people.
They were part
They
of our
work
budget.
so hard.
They're part of our
This shit
budget.
doesn't just happen. There's $300 million and thousands of man hours, well, thousands of people, and like hundreds of thousands of man. I don't even know. They work on these movies for years, with post-production especially.
Yeah.
A lot of green screen and shit.
But no, well, we were talking earlier about the scene that he had with like little Gamora, where he's like, "What you sacrificed?"
Yeah, okay, that's right in
Everything.
this part, pretty much.
He says it was so
sad,
so forlorn that it felt like almost like he had regrets.
No, I think he feels he's hesitant that he had to kill his favorite daughter, and then he's also like he feels it's his burden. He's like, it's my responsibility to keep the balance. And it's like something that he bears, like a chip on his shoulder. He's like, I have to bear this because no one else understands it, and no one else has the will to do it or whatever. And that's when Doctor Strange is like, I think you'll find that our will is stronger than yours or whatever. And he does that like slow talk because he's making the little spell things, which is kind of badass. But must have made Cumberbatch feel really goofy on set. I will find my will. It reminds me of like Kung Pao. It's like, one of us is wearing a push-up bra.
I can't believe you just brought that
Random
movie into
reference.
this.
That's a funny movie. It's stupid, but it's fun.
I don't, and that's what was one of the other reasons that the ending bugged me, because I actually thought that he sounded sad. They sounded despondent, that maybe it wasn't worth it after all.
You think in Avengers 4, they'll track him down and be like, we don't like what you did. He'd be like, I'm sorry. Here you go. You could fix it. I didn't mean to. I miss Gamora. She's my friend.
And I also wonder if he really thought that if he was really planning at that moment to kill half of humanity.
Oh, do you think maybe he would snap his fingers and then be like, oh my God, it worked. I was just playing around.
Maybe he wasn't really mean to do it at that
I was just
moment
like, maybe he was just like, I got like Uptown Girl in my head.
Like, I think that, I don't think, a part of me doesn't think that he really meant to do it at that moment. Like, I know that he wanted to kill half humanity.
Well, he thought maybe he was wounded. He thought maybe this is my last chance, so I better snap my fingers before I bite the bullet here.
But then he freaking blew up his gauntlet.
That's why he said to Thor, you should have gone for the head, because that would have killed him instantly before he had the chance to do that. But going on his chest, he's like, oh, I'm in pain, but I can still snap my fingers, yo.
And his gauntlet got blown up.
Sort of, but I'm
charred.
assuming he still has it.
Yeah.
Because he disappears like, oh.
But it was so powerful that it charred his
so
gauntlet.
So many great portal entrances and exits in this movie. And then he's like, snap, y'all, and then disappears into the portal. And I'm thinking of Star-Lord with the Doctor Strange thing, where he's like, throws a ball grenade, and he's like, boom, flips off and jumps backwards. That was amazing. Star-Lord's great for moments like that. But Star-Lord's dead now, so, oh well. So going into Avengers 4, before we get to what we expect, we jump to the post-credit scene. Nick Fury and Maria Hill are like, oh crap, people are disappearing, which is really kind of an interesting way to explore like the man on the street thing, because yes, cars that are driving would all of a sudden crash into stuff because nobody's driving them.
Yeah,
Helicopters would crash into buildings because the people inside them disappeared. Things like that. I thought that was an interesting way to just be like, oh, like a real world application of what that finger snap means on a grand scale.
Yeah.
Not just with our heroes.
Right.
So Maria Hill disappears, and Nick Fury is like, holy shit, I need to do this. And then gets out a pager of some kind of communicator. S.H.I.E.L.D. has the next level tech, so I'm sure it's not just a pager from the 90s.
Space
But some people are making the link, well, he has a pager. If she's in the 90s, technically, it makes sense. They would communicate by like some kind of a pager situation. So I wonder if that's a reference to the 90s when pagers were the thing. So he hits the button on the communicator, and then he starts to fade away, and we get like a Samuel L. Jackson F-bomb joke as he fades away just before he launches into a motherfucker. And then it drops on the ground and blinks, and then we get the Captain Marvel logo. Now, how did you, as someone who has never read comic books really, other than Archie for some reason, not the Riverdale comic books, the actual Archie.
That's
She's
right.
Archie, blah, 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 Archiekins.
That's right.
Speaking of Riverdale, watch that show, it's fun. How did you feel about the Captain Marvel thing? Were you like, oh, shit, I guess I gotta learn who Captain Marvel is now?
No.
Did
I'll
you
learn who she is in her movie.
next year?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't. Those are the type of stories I don't need to get caught up on before the movies.
Yeah, but then sometimes you spend all day after seeing a movie reading about what the hell you just saw, so you know what's going on.
Yeah, but that's fun.
So after Captain Marvel, then you'll be like, okay, now how does that pertain to what's going on?
What's the trivia?
Yeah, exactly. Did you feel like that was a sufficient, did you think that was a sufficient way for the movie to go out on? Do you like...
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Wait, wasn't that... Would you have preferred that they kept everybody depressed leaving the theater, or do you like that they were like giving you this little glimmer of hope at the end?
Oh, yeah, this is Marvel. They can't... Yeah, I don't want them doing that to us.
They're like,
19 movies.
It's not over, y'all. Captain Marvel's coming soon.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to
But they
Thanos will return.
Right. But they didn't say anything about Captain... It's good they didn't say Captain Marvel.
Well, she hasn't shown up yet, yeah.
Right.
Captain Marvel's on the way.
Yeah, and it's just... The thing is, I just don't like the way that the cartoon of Captain Marvel is drawn, where I'm just like, she looks...
Oh,
like,
that one picture?
She's
been redesigned and stuff a few
I've read
times.
that her and Thor are the stupidest ones.
In the comics?
Yes. That they're really stupid. So now I'm like, oh no.
Stupid, like intelligence-wise?
Yeah.
Oh, no, she's going to be
Like they're
great.
they're the dumb ones.
You really think Brie Larson would play like a ditzy superhero?
No, I just think it was interesting.
She's very, for as the kids say, she's very woke. Brie Larson. She's very conscious of being a woman in this franchise and stuff.
But
like
I just
that.
mean that I just read that in an article that Thor and
Thor's not he's not as much of a lunkhead as he used to be.
But it's also interesting that those are also the two space heroes.
Right.
So
maybe in the comics they relied too much on like, look at the cool visuals. These characters don't have to be that interesting. They just have they do cool shit. He's the god of thunder, and she shoots energy blasts, and she's like all kinds of flies. She has all kinds of crazy powers. She's gonna be awesome. I'm excited to see that. So going into Avengers 4 now, so what we have in a couple months, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I think that's going to be set pretty much soon after Civil War, because in the trailer, Wasp is Hope Van Dyne's like, so what's going on? Why didn't you call me when you were going to help Captain America, whatever? Do we think we're going to see any fallout from Avengers Infinity War in that movie? Do you think like at the end of the movie, this is what I think.
I actually thought he was going to show up.
At the end,
a little bit before Infinity War came out, I thought they were going to have Ant-Man in this because he was in Civil War, and I thought they didn't want to show it because it would give away Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Or he's on the poster, but really small.
Or we would get closer to the Infinity War movie and then Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then would show more about Ant-Man.
I think it's glad. I think I'm glad they kept Ant-Man and people like Hawkeye and things like that out, because I can't imagine this movie with more characters in it.
Right.
You know, I think they tied together the major threads of the MCU, and then like the people that are still out, they'll rope them in next. I could see somebody in that. You know, someone's going to disappear from the Ant-Man world, I'm sure. Maybe his daughter will disappear or something, and that'll be his like, holy shit. But we'll see some kind of indication of the finger snaps impact on the Ant-Man world in that. And then Captain Marvel is
But if it takes place after Civil War, how?
I don't know how soon after Civil War. I don't know how that, or maybe in a post-credit scene.
Oh.
That took place some point after Ant-Man and the Wasp that'll lead into him being tied into the finger snap and Infinity War. And then Captain Marvel takes place in the 90s. They're bringing back Coulson. They're bringing back Nick Fury. They're bringing back Ronan the Accuser. Deals with the Kree-Skrull War and her origins, and somehow explains where the hell she's been since 1990 or whatever, and why she's not like 50 years old at this point. So we'll see how that works. I don't know if I guess maybe time travel is involved, and if that's the case, that would lead into why the fact that everybody's hearing murmurs that Avengers 4 deals with time travel, and maybe that's part of how they go back and they undo stuff and they get the
Days of Future Past.
Yeah, sort of, and they get the Infinity Gems maybe before Thanos has access to them or something. But Thanos, as we know, Thanos will return, and all the surviving members of this will return. Will probably undo a lot of the deaths in this movie, hopefully including Gamora's, but definitely all the people that turned to ash. Loki and Heimdall are probably gone, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So what do you want to see in Avengers 4? And then we'll do final thoughts and wrap up finally.
It's just amazing, all of the preparation that goes into these films with the scripts and the directors, and because
and the callbacks and the character interactions,
they've been laying
and
this groundwork for like a decade, I guess, and it's just amazing that it's really coming to that. And so I don't know, like I don't know what to expect. I know I'd like to think that they're going to bring everybody back, because that's just messed up.
Spider-Man, Black Panther, and the Guardians are going to be in more movies, so yeah. And Doctor Strange presumably will get a sequel and all that, yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting, and I'm glad that we're finally going to have for Marvel a female hero, female-led hero
franchise, and yeah.
And I think Brie Larson will be a good person, especially since nobody knows that much about Captain Marvel.
Except for comic book people. Like she's not like Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. Well, how much did you really know about Captain America or Iron Man or Thor before,
Nothing,
other than Adventures in Babysitting?
Corny.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they made him not corny. They made him awesome.
Right.
To the point people are like, I love Thor. He's so awesome.
So we have a female-led superhero movie with a character that, unless you've read comic books, you don't know anything about it.
Right. Which sounds like it's going to be sort of Green Lantern-y, not in a terrible way, and again another DC reference. Green Lantern-y in that it's an Earth-based person who becomes like wrapped up in alien conflicts and becomes basically a space cop in a way.
It's just interesting.
A space hero.
It's just interesting. They have to go back to the 90s. Like, why they're not going to make it modern?
Well, I'm sure there's a reason for that. I mean,
because they're laying the groundwork.
Exactly. They're establishing that stuff, and they're going to shed light on things that maybe we didn't even know to ask.
But the thing, though, with the Captain Marvel
they did that with Captain America too. He's like World War II, and then here we go, and now he's involved here.
Well,
That's
the
the
thing
same
though
kind
with
of
Captain
thing.
Marvel though is I feel like they didn't actually want to do a female-led superhero movie until there was till the whole thing with Wonder Woman happened. When but obviously it was before that, but not that much more before. That they're like, oh no, maybe we really do need to have more.
I mean, Captain
females.
Marvel was in the cards for a long time, just like Black Panther, and I don't know. I guess they were just, it's unfortunately, it's probably a balance of what they could pull off story wise and what they could build up to, and also the reality of the business side of it. Like, did the executives feel confident enough with an African-American superhero or with a woman, a female superhero, when every female superhero movie up to a point was not very good? Maybe the Kevin Feige and the people at Marvel Studios were like, we'd love to make Captain Marvel. Can we make this? And Disney's like, yeah, maybe make the one, the like goofy space one that sounds like it's sort of like Star Wars, or maybe make the comedy heist thing with Paul Rudd. Those sound like safer bets. And then Wonder Woman came out, and they're like, okay, here you go, here's your money. And they're like, finally, Jesus Christ.
Well,
Like, it doesn't feel like it's the creative people that were holding it back for the most part. It feels like it's probably the businessy people.
Nah, that's
because
true.
Disney cuts the checks to Marvel Studios.
But remember, Disney's also had Moana. It's had Zootopia. It's
Yeah.
had
Oh, yeah.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Rogue One. Like they've had now in the last. I think
Well,
it had to
Lucasfilm
have
was led by
time
a
for
woman,
Disney
so-
to get away from this whole princess crap as much as they.
Well,
have.
and Moana is a princess, but in a
and
different
now
way.
Black Widow's getting more.
Well, she's supposed to finally get a
promotion,
movie,
too.
and the story came out just a couple days ago that Marvel is meeting with female directors there to talk
Well,
about Black
6
Widow.
years ago when Avengers came out, Black Widow wasn't even on like any of the promotional material.
Yeah, I know. And all the toys or like you're like, oh, it's an Avengers mug. There's Thor, there's Iron Man, there's Captain America, there's Hulk, there's Hawkeye. What the fuck? We're missing
I think
somebody.
so I think it did take time for the business side.
That's what I think it is. It's not the creative people usually aren't hung up as much about that. It's the business people, and not to point fingers, but Disney. I'm thinking that's kind of.
But
the
now
reason for it.
Disney's kind of taking the lead on all the female.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
the female heroes.
That's
so.
good. Finally, everybody's getting with it a little bit.
Anyway, that was a digression.
Long conversation in general. So obviously, I mean, we'll see Ant-Man and Captain Marvel, but this is sort of like, I'm gonna watch Solo, but I'm really more excited for Episode 9. Yeah, I'm gonna see those other Marvel movies. I'm sure they'll be good, but really, I'm like, okay, Avengers 4, let's go. What's happening? So we're super hyped about Avengers 4. And
Well, it's like at this point,
I'm kind of hyped about Captain Marvel now, especially now that was the point of the post-credit scene, to get people to be like, Captain Marvel, what?
You also like her a lot.
Well, I love Brie Larson in general. Scott Pilgrim and Room and a lot of other great things that she's been in. And, like you said, a female superhero in the MCU, I think, like a female-led superhero film in the MCU, I think is very exciting. And the fact it's a 90s period piece, we'll probably see a lot of goofy 90s throwback, like music and stuff like that we lived through the 90s, so that'll be fun for us to see. And, I don't know. I'm excited for this future of the MCU.
For ScarJo because she's been Black Widow for
She's
a
also
long time.
she's
and
also
she
not
doesn't
even
have a movie yet.
she's also not even a superhero. That character, that's basically just a spy. That's basically a presumably better version of Red Sparrow, is basically what that movie would be like. Red Sparrow sucked, but I'm looking forward to the Black Widow movie. So only ones that are confirmed post Avengers 4 are Guardians 3, Spider-Man: Homecoming 2, and Black Panther 2. I don't even know if
That's not
100.
even that much. Maybe they
Well, they haven't. Well, they're waiting until Avengers 4 to lay out. Here's Phase 4,
Right,
y'all.
'cause I think they don't wanna give it away.
And they're probably waiting for the Fox deal so they could be like X-Men, the new class, or whatever thing. And the other thing is that Deadpool 2 is coming out in May next month, because we're recording this still in April, and I guess it'll be posted in April still. And the New Mutants and Dark Phoenix got pushed to next year. So Fox is like trying to figure out what's going on with their movies, because I think they're probably getting ready for the transition into the MCU. So that means they'll probably reboot that entire thing, maybe aside from Deadpool. So who knows what the hell's going on with that, but we'll find out. So final thoughts, unless you're making a face. Final thoughts on Avengers 4.
It was very.
What is your rating?
Avengers 3.
Avengers 3. Avengers 4. We took the time stone and went into the future. Now I'm all excited about Avengers 4 now. So final thoughts on Avengers Infinity War. Rating out of 5. Where do you place it within the MCU?
Definitely very high up there.
Top 3, favorite one, second.
Definitely top 3. I mean, I don't know yet. It's definitely in the top 3.
It's in your top 3 in the conversation with basically the last 2 Captain Americas, I guess.
Yeah.
So is your top 3 Winter Soldier, Civil War, and this one, but not in this specific order?
Yeah, but
what about the Avengers, the first Avengers movie?
The first Avengers movie was good too, but this one was like.
Oh, so that would be okay. The feeling I'm getting is the 3 Russo brothers ones are your top 3, and then the Avengers, Joss Whedon's Avengers, is like number 4.
Yeah.
And then Black Panther's like 5-ish, maybe. Okay.
So
we have like the same 5, just different orders.
What about you?
My number 5 is Captain America: Civil War, I think, and then number 4, Captain America: Winter Soldier. But ask me that in 5 minutes, and I might tell you the other way around. I just give Winter Soldier the edge because Civil War has like some clunky, like all of a sudden we're in Queens for no reason. I'm like, okay, well, for Spider-Man, but there's no setup for that. Feels like it's almost on the brink of becoming too overstuffed. Winter Soldier has a lot more simplicity going. 3, Avengers, the original Avengers. Number 2, Avengers Infinity War, and I still like Black Panther number 1 because I feel like I get a richer experience out of that in a way, because it has more it's more relevance to our world, to social context that we're in, and it's it's escapism, but it's escapism with a purpose. Whereas this is just like, look at all these people, they make jokes at each other, and oh shit, we gotta have to find out what happens in the Avengers next time. You know what I mean? It's more Saturday morning cartoon type adventure, which is awesome.
Black Panther has no aliens.
But Black Panther has more gravitas to it, and I don't, you know what I mean? It has more resonance to where America and the world is at this current stage than Infinity War, which makes sense because this is the crossover. And I tweeted something that I feel like the solo and the event movies should be sort of rated separately, because this movie obviously doesn't have the same kind of development that something like Black Panther does, because the whole point is it's a crossover. You're not going to have character every night. He's not going to have an arc because they're all serving the larger story. You know?
Exactly.
And but if you rate those two types of Marvel movies separately, and you put the crossover team up things in one category and the solo movies in one, these two, Black Panther and Infinity War, are my favorite of each of them.
We need it. Then maybe for the next.
We should break it down. So when we talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp or
next
Captain
Avengers
Marvel,
movie, we should talk about that. Yeah.
Rank it within the Avengers movies.
So then there's been 15 Marvel movies and 4.
I would count Civil War as an Avengers. Three Avengers movies, and I would count Civil War as like a team up movie too.
Yeah, I just added that completely wrong.
Yeah, well, not until Avengers 4.
Avengers.
See, now you're thinking about Avengers 4. Take it easy, man.
Who's not thinking about Avengers 4?
I know. Right now, everybody is like
people that haven't even seen Avengers.
Well, and that's the thing that we know about this stuff, but you know about this stuff because I'm a movie person and I tell you about this stuff. But people that are just going to see this movie and have no idea about what the comic book is, they're gonna walk out of there and be like, holy crap, they killed Spider. Like when I take my mom to see this, she's gonna be like bawling because she's like, they just killed Spider-Man and he's never coming back. She did that with Batman vs Superman, another DC reference. She's like, Superman's dead. I'm like, not really. He's gonna be back in the next movie. He dies in the comics. So this is like how it goes from Doomsday.
He's gonna come back with a weird looking face.
Yeah, he's gonna have a goofy looking face because Superman can't have a mustache apparently. So I think Avengers Infinity War, see it if you haven't. It sounds like everybody pretty much has or is going to.
Yeah, so you better see it before people spoil it for you.
We went to a Saturday morning screening, and even then it was hard to find a theater that wasn't like first row only. And this was a few days ago that we booked our tickets. So definitely go see Avengers Infinity War if you haven't seen it yet. But as for us, that's all for now. You can rate and review the Crooked Table podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher if you'd be so kind. You can find me, Robert Yaniz Jr., on Twitter at Crooked Table.
And you can find Kai V at the Volkey LLC on Twitter. And I also have a YouTube channel, Kai Yaniz. You can see some inspiring posts from there.
Of course, you can find more podcasts, reviews, videos, and other movie-related goodies over at crookedtable.com. Next episode, I'm not sure what it's going to be about because I don't want to promise you guys something and then not follow through like I tend to do sometimes. But rest assured that it will not be Ant-Man and the Wasp will not be our next episode. There will be something happening, hopefully relatively soon. Until then, I've been Rob.
And I'm Kai.
We'll catch you on the table next week. Roll credits.
This has been a production of crookedtable.com. All rights reserved.
CROOKED.